and the culture of snow safety throughout.
Because I understood the consequences of what had happened, not only to me, but to the program as well.
In the days following, the park halted all trail crew operations while they investigated the accident. For the next season, there were new safety guidelines in place for snow travel. And every year since, trail crew does mandatory snow and ice safety training, where they practice using ice axes and crampons and setting up fall protection. Morgan's accident changed the trails program and the culture of snow safety throughout the entire park. Heads up, Morgan is about to describe her injuries. If you're not interested in listening to the details, you can skip ahead 2 minutes. So, when you woke up at the hospital, what were the physical injuries?
Starting from the top, traumatic brain injury. So I had swelling of the brain. So to stop that, what they had done is shaved my hair, just the top portion of my scalp, front portion, and created a laceration from my right ear to the apex of my head.
Like they cut that open?
They cut that open.
Wow.
And essentially peeled that down and drilled 3 holes into my skull, which alleviated the pressure of the fluid building up inside of there. And while they did that, I had also sustained multiple fractures to my face. And one of the more sustainable fractures that I had was completely shattering my forehead. So they went in and pieced it together with metal pieces that ironically are called dog bones. I broke my nose. I lost my front tooth, chipped it. I had multiple lacerations on my face, the most extreme being my upper lip, which had been torn off. In my cervical area and neck, I had a bilateral dissected carotid arteries, which essentially is the bands around my carotid arteries had exploded. I then had a right dislocated shoulder and a lacerated liver. So majority of the injuries were head and neck. Every single one of them was life-threatening.
Did you feel like you looked different? Like it was a different person that you were looking at after the accident?
Yeah, and that was really hard to look at myself. Really hard to look at myself after the accident. A lot of sadness for what I had done. It was just hard. It was hard to I don't feel myself as vain, but it's hard to look at yourself in a different context when something on your face changes or on your body changes. Essentially a stranger. The shell of me had changed. I had identified with myself for so long as someone in the mirror. And then to be looking and seeing the holes in my head and the scar on my forehead and the abnormal angle of my nose and the shift of my eyes and all of it, the missing tooth, the shaved head.
So there is this reckoning that you're going through with identity.
There was a reckoning of the identity, not only physically, but a reckoning of the loss of my identity of self and who I presented myself as, what I did.
Yeah.
Who I was. It was wiped clean in one fall. This loss of self and identity and my former relationship with Glacier for a very long time challenged me and put me in very dark places. Depression came naturally with it. I get covered by the darkness. And there's times that I can let it put me on the ground and be at the depths of it. Ultimately, there's an essence of my being that shines brighter.
Did the fall at any point feel like it defined Glacier for you? Like you were sort of avoidant of this place because it was too intense to go to Logan Pass or too intense to go through the entrance station?
Never.
Never.
No. I'd be remiss to say that it wasn't moments of anxiety driving up the road and approaching the chute. I know that none of this occurred out of vengeance, that I did something wrong to deserve this. I was eager to come back and connect. Such an integral part of my being, it was a loss. I was grieving. I was grieving Glacier. I was grieving that I wasn't able to immerse myself in it and that I had to be home. There was nothing I wanted more than to be here. This place means a lot to me, and I care immensely for every square inch of it. And so I have apologized to Glacier. We've come to an understanding together that that wasn't intentional. I have a direct line of sight of the garden wall from the foot of Lake McDonald. And while you can't see the exact location that I fell, it's still the general area. And I have allowed the wind to carry my words up valley, and I have allowed the wall's words to carry down to me. I honor it. Dubbed the chute, like, oh shoot.
Oh shoot.
Yeah,
That's
oh,
what you call it when you go by it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, yesterday I drove the road and I said hi to it as I passed it. I spotted it. I was like, oh, well, there it is.
Oh shoot.
The oh shoot. And I don't pass it and associate it with the memories of falling. It's just like, wow, there is that pivotal point. The memories of the fall aren't associated with it anymore.
I don't think anyone would have blamed Morgan if she decided to leave this place after experiencing what she did. For all its beauty, Glacier has seen some truly horrible things, Morgan's accident, and so many others. This place has stories that I will never really know, or for that matter, understand. Maybe all places and communities do. But I think Morgan is right, that to really know a place, a community, means honoring that darkness.
There's not a conversation where it's like me without Glacier. It has been such an integral part of my life for 2 decades on so many levels. It's where I have worked. It's where I've experienced loss. It's where I fell in love. It's where I've raised my daughters. It's where I have some of my closest relationships and life memories embodied. It is here. The epitome of a trail dog is like strength and tenacity, you know? And I was exemplifying that like tenfold by surviving. It was just the circumstances.
Right.
It was ice. It was ice. It was an accident.
It was an accident. Yeah.
I sometimes ponder with the idea of like, was it intentional? Did it have to be me? And did I get to survive for the purpose of what I am now? It was supposed to be me. Yeah. So it's really curious. Like, where would I be?
Yeah.
Where would I be without this experience? Where would I be without this place? So I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for letting me share my story.
Well, we love you.
I love you guys too. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Headwaters is a production of Glacier National Park and is supported by the Glacier National Park Conservancy. We could not make this show without them. You can learn more about what they do at glacier.org. Headwaters is made possible with help from Lacey Kowalski, Melissa Slottick, and so many people throughout the Glacier community, especially the natural and cultural resource teams. We're grateful for all of you. Our music this season is by the brilliant Frank Walm. The show's cover art is by our sweet friend Stella Nall. Check out Frank and Stella's work at the links in our show notes. Special thanks this episode to Morgan Bell for sharing her story so candidly and gracefully. We also appreciate Duncan Lennon and Cameron Avison for all of their insight into the Trails program. Besides sharing this episode with a friend who might appreciate it, you can help us out by leaving us a rating and review in your podcast app. Thanks for listening.
Ready for a backcountry experience? The Gunsight Pass Trailhead is the starting point for one of the best two-night hikes in the park. This 18-mile hike has always been a great trip, but in the past, getting from the end point of the hike at Lake McDonald Lodge on the west side of the park back to your car over here has always been a hassle. Now that the new shuttle system is in place, hikers have free transportation back to Gunsight Pass Trailhead to retrieve their car. Or, an even better idea is to leave your car at the end point of the hike and take the shuttle to the beginning point here at Gunsight Pass. That way, when you're done with your hike and tired and dusty from the trail, your car is there waiting for you. However you arrange it, the hike from here to Lake McDonald Lodge provides a classic Glacier National Park experience. The trail winds in and out of dense forests for the first few miles to Gunsight Lake and continues up subalpine meadows to Gunsight Pass. Dramatic views of Gunsight Lake on one side and Lake Ellen Wilson on the other are your reward as you stand on the Continental Divide and enjoy the scenery. The trail then drops down to Lake Ellen Wilson before climbing Lincoln Pass over to Sperry Chalet and the Sperry Glacier. Sperry Chalet is one of two remaining backcountry chalets still in operation today. From the chalet, the trail drops steeply down to the McDonald Creek Valley below and ends across the road from Lake McDonald Lodge. Backcountry campers are required to obtain a permit prior to their trip. Stop at one of the permit offices or visitor centers and ranger can give you guidance and assist in trip planning. Along this route, backcountry campgrounds at Gunsight Lake, Lake Ellen Wilson, and Sperry Chalet provide a range of choices for camping, and the chalet provides overnight accommodations that include meals as well if you want to experience the backcountry with just a touch of rustic luxury. Reservations for the chalet is a must, and reservations are recommended for backcountry campgrounds as well. This large pullout along St. Mary Lake offers spectacular views of the lake as well as an opportunity to marvel at the skill of the builders of the Going to the Sun Road. One thing you'll notice as you approach from the east is the impressive wall of cliffs here. These limestone cliffs posed a significant challenge to road builders. In order to construct the road along the cliffs, workers blasted rock out of the mountainsides to allow for a wider road and to provide stone for rock work. The large retaining wall is 550 feet long and almost 30 feet high. It was built in just 5 weeks in 1933 and was one of the first improvements to the road after it opened to traffic in late 1932. Across the lake, the Red Eagle Fire area is visible. Just last summer in August of 2006, this fire, of undetermined cause, burned over 32,000 acres in the park and on the neighboring Blackfeet Indian Reservation, despite immediate efforts to extinguish the fire. Within hours, it went from a small puff of smoke to an impressive inferno with towering smoke plumes that could be seen miles away. Most areas of the park have burned at one point or another, so fire is nothing new to the species that live here. In fact, many plants and animals are dependent on fire for their survival. For instance, lodgepole pine cones spiral open in the heat of a passing fire and release their seeds on the wind to flutter to the ground and germinate in the newly created sunny soils. Several species of woodpeckers thrive in the years following a forest fire as they seek the insects that attack the newly dead trees. Many shrubs start to sprout from undamaged rootstock within days of a fire. The red eagle fire looks black and uninviting to us, but places like this are essential to many species and are vital to maintain the tremendous biological diversity found inside the park.
Many visitors, when they come to Yellowstone National Park, don't realize that they're in one of the world's largest active volcanoes. All the hydrothermal, the hot water features in this park are the result of the Yellowstone volcano. The volcano gives us much of our elevation we have in this area because it heats the ground. That ground is less dense, so we have a high volcanic plateau here of 8,000 feet. It has supplied many of the rocks and the soils that are in this area, so the vegetation is responsive to the Yellowstone volcano, and of course the animals are responsive to the vegetation. The simplest, perhaps most eloquent way to describe it is the heart of Yellowstone. Yellowstone would not exist without the presence of the volcano. First, think of the ground surface, and then let's start having a mass of very hot molten rock, which we call magma, moving up towards the surface. As it moves up, it starts to break the overlying rock, and those breaks basically are earthquakes. So in the area on the ground surface above the molten rock which is moving up, there will be hundreds to thousands of earthquakes per day, and those earthquakes will probably be in the 4.5 magnitude range or larger. The other thing that occurs as this gets close to the surface, the ground starts to deform. It actually gets bent. So in the area of the earthquakes, you should also see significant ground deformation. Sometimes up to a yard a year may occur preceding an eruption. Also, we would expect to see changes in the hot water features, the geysers and hot springs, as this molten rock gets near the surface, and we would expect to see changes in the geothermal gases that come from the ground. Now, do we have earthquake swarms in the park? Definitely. Do we have ground deformation? Definitely. Does the hydrothermal system change? Every day. But are those signs of an impending eruption? No. All these things have to be coincident in the same area and very concentrated, a greater magnitude, and many more of them than we currently see. So having an earthquake swarm near Norris and ground deformation in the White Lake area and changes in the thermal system in Mammoth, they're all part of the normal vital signs of this volcano, and there has been nothing that has been indicated that there is an impending eruption. In the summer of 2014, there was a 3-mile section of road along the Firehole Lake Drive, which is a side road that is north of the Old Faithful area, that was closed because the pavement had become soft and road oil was seeping up through the pavement. Reports were that this was due to increased geothermal activity in the area, and also people then became concerned that this indicated increased volcanic activity in the area. And this wasn't the case. Yes, the road is in an active geothermal area. It's a side road that allows people to view Great Fountain geysers, White Dome geysers, other thermal features. As such, the road is on very hot ground. When we get a very hot day in the summer, with all the sun beating down on the black asphalt, and the road had recently been chip sealed, so all the cracks in the road were sealed with oil, which not only stopped the rain from getting into the road, but stopped the hot geothermal vapors from escaping the road. So the three things of very hot air temperatures above 80 degrees Fahrenheit, the road being in a thermal area, and the asphalt basically being sealed by new road oil that was black, all coupled to deform the road. Within 2 days, our park maintenance crews had been out and worked on the road and fixed it. It's open for travel and has been ever since after the original 2 days closure. This also happened back in 2002 when a segment of the road near White Dome Geyser approached 196 degrees Fahrenheit. The asphalt became soft, and there what occurred was roughly a 60-foot area of the road. The asphalt was stripped off, which allowed the road to breathe. Gravel was placed there, and that segment of road has been open ever since. First, let's describe what a super eruption is. It's just a very, very large eruption. An eruption of at least 240 cubic miles of molten material, and usually that molten material is forcefully vented into the atmosphere. It's not just one large explosion, but through time, there's a lot of molten material vented into the atmosphere. In Yellowstone's past, there have been two super eruptions. One at 2.1 million years ago that was about 600 cubic miles of molten material, and one 640,000 years ago that was 240 cubic miles. To put that in comparison, the eruption of Mount St. Helens was about 0.1 cubic miles. So the super eruptions are very large. They do change basically world climate, temperatures, everything else due to the volcanic ashes and gases that are expelled. Do we know if there will ever be another super eruption of Yellowstone? No, we don't. The volcano experts who study Yellowstone, the volcanologists, do not know if there will be another super eruption of Yellowstone. Is volcanic activity and volcanic eruptions, are they in Yellowstone's future? Definitely. But the most probable eruptions are much smaller than these super eruptions. Now, by smaller, we may mean they might be as large as a Mount St. Helens sort of eruption, or even much smaller than that. Maybe an individual vent that puts out a very nice Hawaiian-type basalt flow. A very robust monitoring network is in place in Yellowstone National Park that monitors earthquakes, monitors ground deformation, monitors stress and strain within the earth, and all these data are online real time through the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory. So none of those data, which are publicly available, have ever indicated to the experts that there's even a potentially small impending eruption. One of the important aspects of the monitoring equipment is to be able to give scientists the ability to predict in advance when an eruption is going to occur. And in its simplest form, the larger the potential eruption, the more molten rock that's coming up over a greater area, the more signals that will occur, the more earthquakes that will occur, the larger the area affected, the more the ground deformation will be occurring in that area, and the more there will be changes in the thermal system and gases. So the larger the eruption, the more advanced notice there'll be, and the smaller the eruption, the less advanced notice. But that's the way we would hope it would be, because the smaller the eruption, the less the effect of it to Yellowstone or even to smaller areas than just the park itself.
Headwaters is supported by the Glacier National Park Conservancy.
How many animals have you walked by and never noticed? How many species live around you that you've never even heard of?
Most people are kind of excited that they had no idea another thing existed. And I think it's like yet one more mystery.
One of these unknown species is a rarely seen creature that most people here have never heard of. They live behind waterfalls and can travel up to 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's fun because they're really dark and you just think it's a bat or something. So we started calling them black lightning.
To have a chance at seeing them, most of the time you'll need to leave the trail, bushwhack for hours with alders swatting you in the face and mosquitoes trying to bite you as sweat drips down your face. Then those same alders lend a hand as the terrain turns steep, and you use them to pull yourself up precipitous slopes. Then the shrubs fade away, and you're clambering up a steep field of loose rock, feeling them shifting as you step and hoping they stay put. Oh, and by the way, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, so it's pitch black. Finally, you reach the base of a waterfall where the rocks are slick underfoot and it's loud from the pounding water and cold and damp from the ever-present mist. And this is where you find them. Black swifts. I'm Perry, and you're listening to Headwaters, a show about how Glacier National Park is connected to everything else. I love birds. Seeing them, hearing them, and also counting them. This year so far, I've found 242 species, and counting. But I've never seen a black swift. For a lot of birders, seeing a brand new species can be a highlight of your month, or even of your year. It's called a life bird. I've looked for black swifts every summer I've lived here, but I strike out every time. They're basically big black cigars that fly thousands of feet in the air, and they're incredibly hard to see. But today, I'm going out with Amy Seaman from Montana Audubon and her team to survey for these elusive birds, and hopefully, I'll be in luck. But this isn't just a story about me going birdwatching. It's a story about learning to feel comfortable in the dark, and how to cherish the mysteries we may never solve.
Once it shoots out, your eye might not pick it up till like out here, where it's out further from the waterfall. I think part of that's just the speed they come out.
Which is how fast?
So fast. I mean,
That's Amy. She's an all-around bird expert, but has spent a lot of the last 10 summers looking for black swifts in a collaborative effort between Montana Audubon and the park, with support from the Glacier Conservancy. With her help, I thought it'd be a lot easier to find them, but it is definitely not easy.
So the birds are basically too fast to see in your binoculars.
They really are.
And if you want a glimpse of them, you're going to have to do an alpine start.
I rolled out of bed at 3:05, got dressed and brushed my teeth and tumbled down the stairs and had just enough time to zoom out the door into the car to then drive an hour to get here.
So I'm tired, there's rain in the forecast, and it's also fully dark outside. Black swifts are early risers, much earlier than me. They're not quite nocturnal, but they aren't just active during the day either. Amy and other researchers have had the most luck looking for them around their nests at dawn or dusk.
We're on the side of the Going to the Sun Road where a creek flows below the road through a culvert. And we're starting to hear the first bird songs. And we're staring at a waterfall, trying to see these little black specks moving at 90 miles an hour.
Black swifts are aerial insectivores, meaning they catch and eat bugs as they fly, especially flying ants. One study found swifts regularly flying at altitudes over 13,000 feet. And they're almost always flying. When they're not nesting, they spend 99% of their time in the air, day and night. That's something like 8 months of flying. How do you study a bird that basically never stops?
So how long have you been doing swift surveys?
This is actually year 10, the beginning of the 10th year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which is so fun to think that it's fun. Yeah, we have just as many questions, but we have learned a lot more.
So when you started, you didn't know how many birds there were, didn't know how to look for them, didn't know what their nest sites really looked like.
Exactly.
So I guess they're not.
But despite the things that Amy and others have been able to learn, there's plenty of mystery left. and Amy loves it.
I've always wanted to know what's around me. That was a lifetime goal of like, when I'm a kid and I want to grow up, I want to say, hey, I'm on a hike, and what is this thing that I'm walking near, or pretty flower that I'm looking at? Then you're like, wait, there is stuff we don't know. So it was this whole full circle of like,
you're a black swift explorer.
I can't believe there's a bird that we found the 6th nest of in the state.
That's incredible.
It's a wild sentence, and it's so fun. And you're like, wait, we didn't know where they wintered till 2012?
Scientists have learned about many birds' migrations through banding programs that started in the early 1900s. But it wasn't until 2012 that we started to learn where swifts migrate. Using tiny geolocators, researchers in Colorado discovered that they were wintering in the lowland forests of Brazil. But where exactly our swifts from Montana go is still a question. But we do know that they're declining. A 2016 report compiled by Partners in Flight estimated dramatic declines since 1970. Climate change, pesticides, and habitat disturbance are all pressuring these birds. So much about them, especially Glacier's population, is unknown.
And I'll never forget my first year at Sperry Chalet meeting a person who had hiked here for decades and had never heard of this bird, and he could name every plant on the side of the trail.
Wow.
So he's like, well, what are you guys here for? And we're like, oh, actually these birds right up in this waterfall that you can look at from the chalet and we've seen for years. And then he was just floored.
And Amy's been working to study swifts and spread the word about them for the last 10 years.
There's enough sites now to start monitoring to a number of birds. Because, of course, at some point, funders want to know, conservationists want to know, like, well, what's the number? Are we running out? Are they declining? Are they not?
Personally, I'll just be happy if I get a little glimpse of just one.
Okay, have I missed anything?
Not yet. Just staring.
I'm standing with Amy and her team, all of us staring intently at the waterfall coming out from under Going to the Sun Road. I'm bundled up, but the cold, damp air is still somehow seeping in.
It's 5:25 now. I've still seen no swifts, although it's seeming less absurd that I might be able to see that now that it's a little lighter, but it hasn't happened yet.
We do call them the swifting hour. There's like a certain light that starts to settle in the morning or night, and you're like, okay, I can feel the activity now. So
Maybe Amy could feel it, but I was not at her level.
So I'm just looking at the waterfall in my binoculars, and we talked for like 2 hours yesterday about how you can find the nests and what to look for, and this kind of nook or crevice or the whitewash from their poops out of the nest, and they made it all seem very straightforward. And I am befuddled.
Needless to say, seeing a swift, even with Amy's help, was not going to be as simple as I'd hoped. But compared to most of their sites, which involve not just a drive, but hiking miles off trail to get to, this is a breeze.
So is this like the cruisiest survey spot you guys have?
yes. I was saying I've never rolled up and I was like, I'm going to wear Crocs just because I can this morning.
It was enough of a challenge for me to get up at 3 a.m, and I'm grateful we did not have to backpack here or bushwhack for hours up a mountain.
So I like to say swifting's not for the faint of heart.
You would be right.
Also, because you get so excited sometimes, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a heart attack because of my excitement level.
I can't say that I was at heart attack levels of excitement, but some booms of thunder did start to get my heart going.
Okay, status update, it's 5:59 a.m. It's thundering quite a bit. Seeing some lightning off to the north. Still have seen no swifts. Don't know if this is looking promising.
Shoot. I might just put my rain jacket on. If it's pouring, we won't survey, but we have done some like half rainy ones.
It's honestly hard to tell if it's past dawn yet because the storm clouds have made it so dark. We take refuge in the car and the storm lets loose. Rain is coming down in sheets and pouring off the cliffs above the road. In a way, the wet weather is appropriate. Black swifts nest behind waterfalls, peeking out through the mist with their big dark eyes. As the clouds empty around me and my nose fogs the car window, I suppose I'm getting a glimpse of what their habitat might feel like. One question I had was, why did they so often nest behind or around waterfalls in the first place? There isn't conclusive evidence, but experts think it serves a few purposes. The first is to avoid predators, and another possibility is climate control.
But then apparently the water is good for the temperature to be cool because they're not fluctuating, like they're not getting so hot either.
It's just steady.
Yeah, I think it stays basically like 45 degrees all the time behind.
Glacier has plenty of waterfalls in the spring, fed by melting winter snow. But by late summer, most of them run dry. Black swifts are smart enough to only pick waterfalls that will protect and cool their chicks all the way until the end of summer. And those can only be fed by glaciers and persistent snowfields, which this park has a lot of.
We have realized that they love Glacier National Park. There are more nests here than in the rest of the state combined that we know of.
But as temperatures warm with climate change, the sources of these waterfalls, those glaciers and snowfields, are declining. Because I guess you could see the swifts as a bit of a canary in the coal mine. And as you say, like, the waterfalls are where they are. They can't move up in elevation. But also they feed on insects. And so as insects decline, like, that's even more invisible.
Yeah, and I think you totally nailed it, because part of the interest in studying black swifts isn't just that they do have a unique place that we just didn't know about them, but they totally share a decline with other aerial insectivores. And the jury's kind of out on exactly what issues are happening.
This is one of the biggest motivations for their studies in Glacier, trying to figure out what the population is like and how worried they need to be.
And it also helps us know, like, oh, maybe we don't need to hit the panic button either right away. Like, there is a lot of great habitat in Montana, and it could be that we have a lot more of these birds than we thought.
But all of Amy's work can still only go so far.
We can also learn only what we can learn in Montana. We don't know anything that these birds are encountering on their migration or on their wintering grounds.
And even with 10 years of data from Glacier and efforts in Colorado and Idaho, we still know remarkably little about these birds compared with almost every other species I might see on a morning walk. It makes me wonder what else I'm missing.
If a tree falls in the forest and you don't hear it, right? Like, what happens? And then so it's like if a black swift disappears from a waterfall, but we never know they were ever at the waterfall, to me, there's something really interesting that's lost in that.
Still hiding out from the rain, talking with Amy in the car, I've pretty much lost all hope of seeing a swift today. Maybe of ever seeing one. I feel like the thunderstorm is an embodiment of climate change and all the threats these little birds are facing, looming over all of us. As the park's glaciers retreat and disappear, people notice and they care. But does it matter if a bird that I might never see disappears? Can you love something you've never seen?
All right, it's 6:38 now. The storm has abated. There are a lot more cars now. I'm still seeing no swifts, but so you would normally survey until 7:15. So we have another like half hour. So do you think you see any swifts?
I mean, there's like a smudge back there that could be something, but it's not moving. And
Right, I see a smudge, but I don't see anything.
Put that in the data sheet. Smudge on nest.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is a bird. It's a bird. There's a bird.
Really?
It's on that other little grassy.
But I'll take a look in the scope and see if I can see anything. of what I just thought was a blob.
Was it a smudge or a blob?
A mob. And it's tucked away back in this little nook. And I can see a white blob above the smudge. See, I thought I saw it move, but now I'm second guessing myself. Maybe I'm just moving. Oh, I see the tail. Oh my God, it's huge. Okay, I thought it was going to be a tiny little bird, but it's huge.
Yeah. It's big.
Oh.
That's why they're kind of crazy, because you're like, this isn't...
I was looking for like a tiny little swallow-sized bird. Oh, it moved its head. This is very exciting.
I didn't notice that before.
Thousands of people drive on the road past this nest site every day and would never know these birds are living their lives here. I've driven past this site dozens and dozens of times. But now I'll look for them every time I drive past. You can see it so well now. You can see its eyeball. You can see its little wings crossed over its tail. It's looking at me.
It's in a really small space.
Yeah. It's like it's wrapped up in its little sleeping bag of moss and rock.
That black swift, perched underneath a waterfall, peering back at me from its damp ledge, felt like a glimpse into a whole part of Glacier that usually hides out of sight. It has black, shiny wings and black feathers, and I can see a little tiny bit of white on kind of the front of its face and a big black eyeball kind of looking at me. So it's like a little bit of light, but mostly dark, which was also our experience in this survey. They do a lot of things in the dark, and mostly we can't really see them during the day. And most of their lives are in the dark, but we're learning a little bit more each year and each survey. In all these years, what do you think you've learned from black swifts?
I think the biggest personal change that I've seen has been sort of a minor one, but I've realized that it actually does run quite deeply into life, and it's that I really am more comfortable at night being a nocturnal person, walking around in the dark, even in my own house or in the creepy basements or in other people's creepy basements. I think it's really impacted my comfort level with, trusting yourself and all your intuitions and when fear is real and when it's not real. And I think people really do have so much more than we let on to stuff, because I've gone to things like in the night and then gone back to the place and like noticed that I'm walking right by the same exact rock or something. And I'm like, I tried to go the same direction, but my body has some kind of memory. Like, I'm like, how did myself take myself to this exact place? Honestly, just operating more comfortably with less light has been a very liberating feeling. I don't know if we learn it as fear is from movies or what it is when you're little and you do have that fear of the dark thing. And
well, it's very primal. We spend so much time trying to light up the darkness, whether it's our car headlights or our, turning the lights on in our houses or even leaving our porch lights on all night.
It's just oddly satisfying. And you're like, this just makes life easier when you take off a layer of worrying.
I like that, though. It's not like you go out there and try to make the dark more light. You can just become more comfortable in the dark.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing you said earlier was like, these birds love Glacier so much. And I don't know, it kind of got me thinking, like, does Glacier love these birds back? And it was like, I think that there's so much effort going into studying them. It kind of makes me maybe say yes now.
I think so. I think Glacier and the Conservancy has supported the effort seriously over the years. And to me, that's just really cool, because it means these birds are impacting a greater landscape, but they need Glacier to nest and survive and reproduce, to keep having black swifts. And then I think the community of people love it, because when people are here, they are totally enjoying nature and then hopefully passing that down. As Montana Audubon, too, we are advocates for conservation, and it really does take knowing and caring about something to advocate for, especially if it's a policy decision that will impact climate change or something like that. You do have to know the birds.
I guess I'm still not sure if you can truly love something you don't know. But now I've seen a black swift, and I think we bonded. And I know I don't want to lose them.
How does it feel? They're still there, and that really makes me happy. Actually, to your question of how does it make you feel when you see them again after 10 years, I don't know why, but I still get so excited, and I do love them.
When we were lucky enough to see that nest today, you get that small little bit of just ultra excitement that they're still there, and just knowing that they're there, even though you don't see them all the time. It's just like, gosh, this whole life's happening and we have no idea. And that brought a lot of joy. Yeah.
We've learned a lot about these birds, but can we ever know very much, or will they always kind of be a mystery to us?
That type of thing is so interesting to me, and I think just because we can't exist in their habitat comfortably for much longer than a few hours, I think there is definitely going to always be the part that is just too dark for us to see.
Headwaters is a production of Glacier National Park and is supported by the Glacier National Park Conservancy. We could not make this show without them. You can learn more about what they do at glacier.org. Headwaters is made possible with help from Lacey Kowalski, Melissa Slottick, and so many people throughout the Glacier community, especially the natural and cultural resource teams. We're grateful for all of you. Our music this season is by the brilliant Frank Walm. The show's cover art is by our sweet friend Stella Nall. Check out Frank and Stella's work at the links in our show notes. Special thanks this episode to Amy Seaman and the whole Black Swift team, Montana Audubon, Lisa Bate, and Kaylee Kimball for all the pickles. Besides sharing this episode with a friend who might appreciate it, you can help us out by leaving us a rating and review in your podcast app. Thanks for listening.
The shuttle stop here at St. Mary Falls Trailhead provides access to several hiking areas on the east side of the park. Visitors are encouraged to pick up a free copy of the Day Hikes in Glacier newspaper. The maps and trail information inside the paper will help visitors match their interests and abilities to the many hikes in Glacier National Park. Here, the St. Mary Falls Trail, one of the more popular hikes in the park, is a 2.4-mile round trip which can be extended to 3.6 miles by continuing on to Virginia Falls. The hike offers a short and pleasant stroll down to the valley floor, crossing the stream below the roaring St. Mary Falls. After St. Mary Falls, the forest opens up a bit, and those continuing on to Virginia Falls will be treated with views of Little Chief and Dusty Star Mountains, as well as one of the best waterfalls Glacier has to offer. Please remember, water-related accidents are the #1 cause of fatalities in the park. Use extreme caution near water and remain on the trail. Moss-covered rocks and wet logs can be extremely slippery, and falls into swift, cold streams, rivers, and lakes have been tragic. Never walk, play, or climb on the slippery rocks and logs around this or any other stream in the park.
For Yellowstone National Park and the Acoustic Atlas at Montana State University, this is telemetry. You know, every season in Yellowstone is pretty fantastic, but if you're into listening to the sounds of animals, spring and summer, well, there's just nothing like it. And while most creatures in Yellowstone are busily singing their hearts out this time of year, there's one animal that actually gets a little quieter in the spring and summer. And that's the wolf. You see, there's a seasonal cycle to wolf howling. Howling ramps up through the fall and it peaks in late winter. Then comes springtime.
Howling abruptly drops off, and this is caused by the female choosing a place to den that they really want to keep secret, if at all possible.
That's Kira Cassidy, research associate with the Yellowstone Wolf Project.
choosing a den site is extremely important for a wolf pack. It's going to be their hub for the entire summer. It's the house of the entire next generation. And it has to be protected, of course, because the tiny, helpless pups are going to be there for several months. We've had cases where a pack has attacked another wolf's den and even killed the pups in some cases. They don't really want to let other packs know where they are and what they're doing. And in order to avoid that, they keep quiet.
Now, it's not only the frequency of howling that changes throughout the year, but the type of howling shifts too.
Wolves howl for a couple of different reasons. Some of that would be within the pack, so to keep track of each other, say if they've been separated.
And even though they're doing a lot less of it, this is the kind of howling that tends to dominate in the spring and summer, wolves communicating with their own pack mates.
They also howl to let other packs know where they are and to kind of establish a territory.
Wolves will often have these howling bouts with other packs. The two packs will howl back and forth as if to say, this is our turf, our territory. And it's that howling for territoriality that grows in the months leading up to the winter breeding season.
Howling really tracks the hormones. As the wolves are getting ready for the breeding season, testosterone will start to spike. Howling starts to increase. It's kind of a stressful time in some ways. They do a lot of howling during the breeding season. They also probably use howling as a way to advertise the number of wolves they have in the pack, the type of wolves they have in the pack. If they have a lot of big male fighters, that's going to come across in a howling bout with another pack. And in some ways, wolves may be able to use it to avoid a fight with another pack, too. They can kind of create that space between each other, let each other know where they are, but also let them know who they are.
Kira's specialty is looking at territoriality in wolves and interpack aggression, basically when two packs come into contact with each other and fight. Sometimes wolves will fight until one pack or one animal displaces the other, and sometimes they'll fight to the death.
This running into other packs is so vastly important to a wolf pack. It's, of all the wolves that live in Yellowstone that we've radio collared, some of them disperse outside of Yellowstone, of course. But if they live their whole life in Yellowstone, 2/3 of them end up being killed by other wolves.
Hello, world, and welcome to the Rocky Mountain National Podcast, the official podcast of Rocky Mountain National Park. This podcast is something totally new for us. We're just getting started. This is episode 1. We're going to be running in a seasonal format, so we'll have a whole season, and this season we're going to do 10 episodes. What we're trying to do with the podcast is connect you to Rocky Mountain National Park through sounds and stories, with things like days in the field with climbing and backcountry rangers and park researchers, interviews with rangers about both their own lives and what they do in the park and the key park issues, soundscapes around the park, news, upcoming events, tips for your visit, all that kind of stuff. I'm your host, Miles Barger. I've worked as a guide in Yellowstone, Denali, and Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Parks. I've also worked as a cartographer for the NPS. NPS is Park Geek speak for the National Park Service. So you're going to hear a lot of people this season use that acronym, NPS, National Park Service. I made maps for the NPS brochure program, which makes the official brochures for all our National Park Service units. And now I'm here at Rocky, where I manage our webpage, social media, audio, video production, waysides and signs, printed publications, and other stuff. I'm not going to go too much into my story here right now because, as you'll see, the interviews on our podcast are not going to be formal and stuffy, blah, blah, blah. You know, we're not doing highly produced stuff. We're doing conversations with real rangers, with real park staff, volunteers out in the field. And we want it to be like you're sitting at a picnic table with us, you're sitting around a campfire, we're just having an interesting conversation. So I'm sure that in those conversations, details about me will naturally emerge. So for today's episode, I spoke with Kathy Brazelton, the East District Naturalist. The East District of Rocky Mountain National Park is the Estes Park side of the park. Kathy has been a longtime resident of Estes Park, and as you'll hear in our interview, has been in love with Rocky and the surrounding area for a long time. We chatted in Upper Beaver Meadows, a beautiful meadow backdropped by jaw-dropping mountain views, where we looked for signs of spring and learned about Kathy's lifelong passion for sharing with the world Rocky's unique beauty. We hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Rocky Mountain National Podcast. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Miles.
Thanks for joining us out here. Where are we right now? We're in Upper Beaver Meadows in the picnic area. I like Upper Beaver Meadows. I think it's a beautiful place. Good birds up here. Yeah.
I'm nodding.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll nod. We'll have nod on audio.
Okay.
So, how's that big snow? For those of you who might be surprised, it's, what's today, May 23rd?
Yeah.
And we're standing in snow.
Because it's springtime in the Rockies.
Exactly. It's springtime in the Rockies. We just a few days ago had, gosh, my house we had over 3 feet.
Yeah.
I think in the park we had over
34,
3 feet.
something
34
like that.
or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. I think
Craziness.
Allen's Park had like 42.
Oh.
Have you seen a lot of snows that big here in the spring?
Not quite that big.
No.
One year in March we got 56 inches.
56?
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
Whoa.
But those are odd little weather events.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing how it will snow and then melt very quickly. It's kind of nice. It's like a little hint of winter. All right. We'll just head into background stuff. So, Kathy, what do you do here at Rocky Mountain National Park?
I am the East District Naturalist, which means I supervise all of the interpretive stuff on the east side of the park from the Continental Divide down.
And what is, I don't know, our listeners might not know, we use the terms interpretation. What's an interpreter in the Park Service? We don't translate stuff, right? Well, we sort of do.
I look at it. My grandmother, to her dying day, asked me what language I spoke. So,
really?
and I think it is kind of being an interpreter. I take my knowledge and love of this place and put it into language that the visitor can understand because it's new to them.
So interpreters, we do stuff like ranger programs that people go on. What other kind of things?
Walks, talks, hikes. And then there's the non-personal stuff that you'll see around the park, the brochures and the wayside signs and things that help you understand where you are.
Yeah, I know a little bit about that.
Imagine you do.
So let's see. Where are you from, Kathy?
Originally. Born in Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, Tennessee, but no accent. Amazing.
I lost it on purpose when
I
moved out here to go to college.
Yeah.
But I was a child of the South.
Yeah. I grew up in the South too, actually.
Yeah.
And I was kind of the same way. I didn't lose it on purpose, but I had a thick accent and Kentucky plus Mississippi plus Tennessee. So that was kind of
a doozy.
That's a good mix. And then I moved to Iowa when I was like 11 or 12 and it kind of went away. Memphis, Tennessee. How long did you live there?
2 years. But all my family was from there.
Oh, really?
But Daddy's company moved him all around.
Yeah.
And my family loved to travel.
Yeah.
And we came west.
Yeah,
in
like
the
a lot?
Station wagon with the wood paneling on the side.
Like National Lampoon Vacation style?
And 3 little girls in the back seat driving my parents crazy.
Oh, that's great.
But that's when I fell in love with the West.
Yeah, so it was you and 2 sisters.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And then ever since you can remember, you took trips out west?
Yep.
How did your parents get into that?
I'm not quite sure. Dad was a crazy birder. He wanted to get lots of new species. And Mother was really enthralled with the beauty of the Native American lands. So we did a lot of poking around down in Monument Valley and Gallup, watching the dances.
Oh, wow.
And I had
awesome.
a blessed childhood, but it turned me on to my love for the national parks.
Yeah, that sounds great. What's the first national park you remember visiting?
Rocky.
Rocky? Really?
Yes.
How old are you?
I was 11 years old.
11. Wow.
And I fell in love with these mountains.
That was a family trip?
It was.
Huh. How long were you here? Did you camp?
No, we didn't camp. We hiked in the snow. We all fell through. We had on our cotton jeans and our cotton boots. It was May, though. We, coming from the south, we thought it would be warm. But no. But no, we had so many good experiences here, and then later we camped and backpacked and hiked all through the park. But
so you came here a lot.
We did
growing up. Like how often would you come? Yearly or every few years?
I think we came once a year for probably 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then once I came out here and went to school, my parents kept coming back to visit.
So
I was their excuse.
You went to college here?
I went to Colorado State.
Colorado State. Did you come? Was that because you loved Rocky so much, or do you love this area so much, or was it coincidence?
It was a combination of things. I adored the area, and I was going into forestry and natural resources, and CSU is the best school for that.
Okay. So do you think, I guess it's hard to say. I mean, it seems like your parents and visiting all the national parks would make you like resources and all that. Were you into that ever since you can remember as a little?
I wanted to be a ranger ever since I was a little girl.
Really?
We went on a hike at the Grand Canyon, and I remember trotting along behind my wonderful ranger, and I asked him, "Do you really get paid for this?"
We still ask ourselves that sometimes, don't we?
But I knew, and I was so lucky and blessed to have it happen.
Yeah, that's great. So you went to school at Colorado State in Fort Collins? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you work? When was your first job as a ranger?
As a ranger?
Yeah, or in a national park. Did you ever do an internship? Or
I did internships. I worked for state and national parks. I worked for Forest Service. I worked anywhere I could find a job in the biz.
What was your first thing in the biz?
When I was, parents don't let your children listen to this. When I was halfway through college, I took a semester off, and I worked at Lowry State Park, our wonderful state park just down the hill. I worked for the Young Adult Conservation Corps. So it was a break from school, but it was also doing something that was, My goal was always, no matter what job I had, was to put some kind of a spin on it that would benefit the environment and benefit my career.
Yeah, sure. What kind of stuff did you do in that internship? Or job?
So I made some maps, and I worked on some trails.
Oh, that's interesting. Got to make maps.
Yeah.
I like to make.
I know you'd like that.
Yeah, I've made some maps in my time. I mean, it's interesting, I think, because that question comes up a lot, I feel like, from visitors. Is like, how did you do this? Or how did you become a ranger? Or what was involved? And I feel like those types of summer jobs and internships are so
My first
key.
internship, you will love this. I went to Southern California, and it was the Louis Rubidoux Nature Center with Riverside County Parks. I was madly in love with a California boy at the time, so I did my internship down there. And the day that I got there, maybe within 2 or 3 days, my poor boss, who ended up being a wonderful friend of mine, was in a terrible accident and handed me the keys to the center and said, "Have a nice summer."
Wow.
So I learned,
you learned a lot
from the kitchen sink on up, but it was the best experience ever. I learned everything.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sometimes I've had a few internships like that. Yeah, let's see. So when's the first time that you worked at Rocky Mountain National Park specifically?
I came here in the year 2000.
Year 2000. And what were you doing then?
Oh, it's a crazy story. I was chief ranger in several parks, chief of interpretation, and I wanted to move up here. And my husband got a job, and I didn't have a job yet. So I handed in my badge and moved up here on a leap of faith.
Yep.
But I wanted to raise my children up here. It's the scariest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
But again,
it worked out.
Well, yeah. It was wonderful. And I had actually a summer off, which I haven't had since I was 16.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And I hiked and hiked and hiked and hiked.
Yeah, you already knew the park. But
you got to know it so much better.
Right?
Yeah. I'd sit down every morning with a topo map and a cup of coffee and just go, here we go.
Sounds like heaven.
It was.
That was a great
heaven.
intro.
Yeah. And then I got hired on as a seasonal again. So I got to have all the fun and none of the responsibility of a supervisory position.
Yeah.
And then just moved on up. So
yeah, I guess that's something too we should explain for listeners, because this is our first episode of the podcast. So people are new to this stuff. Is that we kind of have different groupings of types of employees. We have kind of interns that are through different programs, Student Conservation Association at some parks, or here we have our own programs, and then we have seasonal employees, which are actually official government employees, but they're just working for up to 6 months or less. And then we have term employees, which are on kind of multi-year projects, but they're a defined limit. And then we have permanent employees,
Right.
which is like what you'd normally think of as a full-time employee, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. So you started out seasonal again when you're doing that, but you've been a chief other places.
Yep.
Where
At a
did
couple
you
of parks.
Where did
and
you work before that?
I started in Redwood National Park.
Ooh, beautiful.
I was going to graduate school in the Pacific Northwest. It was beautiful.
When was Redwood created?
Oh gosh,
I'm trying to remember.
78.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That seems like it's always an evolving place.
Yeah,
so
it
you're
is.
at Redwood.
I was at Redwood, and then I went
great.
from living redwoods to petrified ones. I went to fluorescent fossil beds.
That's kind of an
It was
interesting
wonderful.
transition.
I'm looking at the fossils going, I know this ecosystem.
Wow, that's really interesting.
It was. Huge petrified stumps. It's
And
so
fluorescence is
fascinating.
in Oregon, right?
No, it's down
that's
in
right. That's the one in
central
Colorado.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Just
thinking of
outside
a different
Colorado
fossil
Springs.
ones in Oregon.
You're thinking of John Day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thinking of John Day.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
fluorescent.
for that, it was a wonderful thing. And then I went from there to Curated National Recreation Area, which is different yet.
That's in Colorado also, right? Down by
between Gunnison and Montrose.
Montrose. Yep. Yeah, I worked at Black Canyon, the Gunnison for for a winter.
I was your neighbor.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that part of
Isn't it gorgeous?
the state.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
Curated is beautiful.
It is. It is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that the National Park Service manages a lot of national recreation areas.
Yeah.
So not all National Park Service units are called national parks.
That's right.
Yeah, we have tons. I don't even know how many types of units.
Oh gosh,
like
the
15,
National Historic
16.
Site, National Monuments, National Battlefields,
Exactly.
National Seashores. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, and for people, if you're listening and you're curious about that, go to, if you search the terms Find Your Park, you can actually find a big map that has, we have 400 and, what's the count now? 400 and something units. And I think a lot of people don't even realize that we manage all that stuff. Anyway, Curated.
From there, I went to a little bitty place in Utah, Timpanogos Cave.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Gorgeous
What's that
little,
like?
Oh, it's a little jewel box of a cave.
Is it a dry cave, wet cave?
It's a wet cave. It's
Wet
still
cave?
alive, with doors in it to help maintain the
Whoa.
moisture ratio.
Wow.
It is way up high on a cliff, so people show up and expect it to be like Carlsbad, where they take an elevator or stairs down to the cave. Instead, they have to hike a mile and a half up.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
it's in the
fascinating.
limestone face.
What part of
there.
Utah is that in?
Just south of Salt Lake City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the
I had no
Wasatch
idea.
Range there. It's beautiful.
I love that part of the country. Where
And
after
then from
that?
there, I went to Great Sand Dunes. Now it's National Park and Preserve.
Yeah.
And then up
At
here.
that time, was it?
It was just a national park.
National Park, and then added the preserve later.
Yeah.
That's also a fascinating place. If anybody's coming to Rocky and you have a longer trip, you should visit some of these places around us. I mean, Great Sand Dunes is bizarre.
It's phenomenal.
It's just these,
phenomenal.
Hundreds and hundreds of foot tall sand dunes up against the Sangre de Cristos, and there's a 14er like right behind sand dunes.
Yes.
It's very bizarre. And then what's that creek that flows down?
Medno.
Yeah, and it flows like under the sand and kind of emerges on the
It
other
does.
side,
It
and there's
comes
a
in and
wetland.
out.
I mean, it's just,
There's pockets, secret pockets
yeah,
back in there.
it's a bizarre
And
place.
a bison herd and an elk herd. And
Yeah, it's definitely worth. I mean, all parks. I've literally every park I've been to.
Same
even
here.
when I'm like, I don't know about this place. It's always interesting.
Every park has had some beauty. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. And so then after that, you came here
Came
to
up here.
Rocky. Huh. That's great. You got to be in
And
some
I'm
nice
a happy
places.
ending. Oh, I have been in wonderful places.
You like it here, okay?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So how did you get into interpretation specifically? Is that what you'd always wanted to do, or
Yeah,
were you
I've done lots of jobs in the national parks. Resource management, law enforcement, cleaned my share of toilets. But my passion was to get people excited about these beautiful places. And to me, interpretation was the key to that. Just to share my love for and knowledge of and watch that glow spread across their face. That's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, I have to agree. I love that too. So you talked about taking trips with your family. Was there anyone specifically, like a specific ranger that you remember, or someone in your family specifically that really inspired that desire to
my
communicate and
mom was
inspire
a
people?
professional Girl Scout, outdoor education. And I was a scout myself, and that offered me many wonderful opportunities.
Yeah.
And then my dad being a birder, that's what we would do together. We'd go out on Saturdays and go birding when we could. So he taught me a lot about the different, birds and why they were there and the ecosystem idea. And I just loved science in school. I was a little science nerd. I just adored it.
Yeah.
But
that's great.
I had a hard time deciding whether I wanted to go into research, and because I just love immersing myself in resource knowledge. But I really wanted the other piece too, the communication of the sharing of. That's important to me.
Yeah. I feel like that happens a lot for people in the Park Service. They kind of have a lot of interests. It takes a little bit to figure out, do you like being out in the field collecting data all the time, kind of on your own, or do you like interacting with people and all of that?
Both.
Yeah, exactly. I
And the old time ranger, when I started, was more of a general ranger, a generalist, and we got to do a lot of the different things. And we've gone a little more pegged now into different categories.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people mention that. I guess I've only been doing park stuff for about 10 years, but I've heard a lot of people say, it used to be much more general, and it's just gotten more specialized over time. Why do you think that is?
Well, a lot of my first parks were smaller parks, so you wear a lot of different hats because you don't have a lot of staff.
Yeah, exactly.
And then if you move into a bigger park, there's just more people to assume more roles.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
A lot more everything. I mean, at Rocky, you were just a little under 250,000 acres, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of visitors.
Yes, we do.
I bet that's changed a lot. Do you know what the visitation was when you were here, like in 2000, approximately?
I think it was still, don't quote me on this, but I think we're still under 3 million at that time.
Yeah.
And now we're at 4.5.
Yeah, last year we had 4.5 million. Yeah. So what kind of changes have you seen at Rocky since you've been here?
Oh,
any kind of changes?
I think the interpretive role becomes more and more important because we are trying to help people understand where they are so that their visit can be as low impact as possible and they can see the beautiful places and enjoy it, but still in the spirit of national parks, leave it for that next generation. So even though there's a lot of visitors, most of them really want what's right for the park, and we just help them understand how their behaviors can help the park.
So, again, just in case some people listening don't know all the details, what are some things that we mean by impact, or like remaining low impact while we visit?
Oh, it can be as simple as going to the bathroom in the correct place or the correct manner.
Yeah, that's true.
There's nothing worse than thinking you're in God's own wilderness and looking down and seeing a big pile of human leavings. Or a pop top or things like that. So, with that whole leave no trace idea is a good one.
Yeah, I know that's a big one, and one that we've been having to work with people on just because we do have so many visitors now.
That's right.
It's understandable,
That's right.
but
and using trails, if there's a trail available, use that. Don't make your own. And that can really help the undergrowth and the vegetation around our heavily used areas and little things like that. And people need to remember that it's a little thing, but it really does make a difference.
Yeah.
Because we have 4.5 million people doing that little thing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I always try to think about because, it's understandable. Like it's understandable why people do little things and you don't think about it. But I always try to remember, like, okay, what am I doing right now times 4.5 million?
Right. That's a good way to look at it.
It can make a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I try to think about too that I think you're right, this is where interpretation is so helpful, is that national parks are really fun and they're fun to come to and they're fun vacation, but they're so interesting because they're set aside forever. They're supposed to be here forever for everyone.
Right.
Every generation, grandkids, great grandkids, everybody. And so that always helps me too.
Isn't that the best dream ever?
It is. I know. It's an amazing idea.
And you get up in the morning and put on your green pants. If that's the reason we're getting up and putting on our green pants, we could have a lot worse troubles.
I agree. Okay, time for a little break while we give you quick news and announcements about things going on in Rocky Mountain National Park. First of all, summer is here. So it's hard to believe, wasn't that long ago, we had a huge late May snowstorm, over 3 feet of snow in Estes Park, way more up in the higher elevations. but Trail Ridge Road is now fully open for the season. Roads are clear, but watch out for ice. It can get below freezing at night, and any water from melting snow on the runway can freeze. And be prepared for cool temps and high wind. It can really surprise you. For example, on Monday, I went up to the Alpine Visitor Center. When I left Beaver Meadows Visitor Center, it was 76 degrees, light wind, sunny. Up at Alpine Visitor Center, it was 46 degrees and very windy and pretty clouded over. So the weather changes really quickly, and temperatures always get colder as you go up in elevation. I was really glad to have a jacket, hat, and gloves and to not be in sandals. And we recommend that any of you coming to visit bring all those items as well. Warm clothes, hat, gloves, and if you're wearing sandals, some extra shoes in case it's really cold up there. Wildflowers are starting to bloom in the lower elevations of the park, and wildlife are out and about with new elk and moose calves being spotted around the park, and lots of species of birds joining us from near and far, including the hard-to-miss ruby-throated hummingbirds. They buzz and chirp. You hear them through the air. Ranger programs. Have you ever joined a ranger-led program? They are a great way to learn about the park and have fun doing it, and they're free. So on a ranger-led program, you show up at a location, a ranger is there with you. We have walks and hikes, we have evening programs, we have more like presentation style, hands-on. We even have things especially for kids. They're absolutely great benefit, and like I said, no cost to you. We have a special program coming up on June 16th at 8:30 p.m. at the Upper Beaver Meadows Trailhead, and we call it Party with the Stars. So if you have not been to Rocky Mountain at night and seen our night skies, they are incredible. The Milky Way, all the stars, I can't even describe it to you. You have to see it yourself. So on this program, you show up 8:30 p.m., Upper Beaver Meadows Trailhead, and you watch as night descends on Rocky Mountain National Park. And then when it's dark, there's actually going to be volunteers available with big telescopes that will help you experience the magic of the night sky. They can point things out to you, or you can just look through the telescopes and get some great views. So highly recommend you check that out, June 16th, 8:30 p.m. We also have all of our summer programs beginning this Sunday, June 18th. There are way too many for me to talk about here, but you can find them online. For a full list of our ranger programs, check out our online calendar at go.nps.gov/RockyCal. That's Rocky, C-A-L. Or if you're here visiting us in the park, you'll get a park newspaper when you come through an entrance. Just turn to pages 3 through 7 in that newspaper, and you'll see our full list of programs for the summer. Finally, a few updates on our park roads. Old Fall River Road is currently closed to vehicles. It's open to bikes and walkers. It is set to open as usual in early July, weather permitting, so stay tuned on that. There's construction going on Moraine Park Road from the intersection with Bear Lake Road to the Moraine Park campground. You can expect delays of up to 15 minutes there during the day while construction is going on. And all throughout the summer, we have a park-wide project to repair and preserve pavement in the park, and that also might cause short delays in a few sections of road, and those sections will be changing throughout the summer. So just something to be aware of as you visit us. All right, there is all the news that is fit to speak for you this week, and let's get back to our interview with Kathy. Since it's spring, thought we could talk a little bit about spring in Rocky.
Spring in Rocky?
Yeah. So when you
be
think
ready.
Be ready. Yeah. When you think about spring in Rocky Mountain National Park, what do you think of? You think of be ready.
The first thing I think of is change.
Change.
Yeah, because it's going to be changing either by the minute or by the day, or you can have a 50-degree day one day and be sitting and getting sunburned on a rock, and the next day you are in 3 feet of snow. So be ready. Folks who come visit us, they have their shorts and sandals on and they're ready to climb longs, and we're saying, that's still a winter climb. They forget how far north we are and how high we are in elevation. It really makes a difference.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I totally get it. I remember the first time I came out west, because being from Kentucky, it snows a little bit.
Yeah.
May is
summer.
Usually warm. It's summer, basically. And I remember we came out here. I think it was early June. We went to Yellowstone, and a snowstorm was coming in, and they were basically like, you can either stay here for 3 days or you can leave, but you're not going to be able to get in or out. And we were just like, what? It kind of blew our minds.
Yeah.
So that's a good tip for everybody. Be prepared for anything, like you said, sunburn and 60, or 20 degrees and dumping snow, or 3 feet of snow like we just had in May.
Yes.
What else what other things are changing here? I think it's interesting when you live in different types of environments, there's always change happening, and we have spring, but I think a lot of people wouldn't maybe think of it as spring or recognize it as spring.
It's not a long drawn out spring like other folks have. I think of my senses when I think of spring. There's things you smell. You can smell the current blossoms or the current leaves. You can that's one of our shrubs. You can smell the willow catkins and that green meadow waking up smell. This just really is strong sense in the spring. I think of sights. I think of the blue of the bluebirds coming in. They're in their breeding plumage, and they are an incredible color blue. Your eyes just can't register it.
Yeah, it is shocking when you see one. You're like, whoa, is that real?
Extremely pregnant cow elk.
I've seen a lot of those around town.
Yes. I think of sounds. We have the red-tailed hawk coming in to build their nest, and they do a lot of calling back and forth, the breeding pair. I think of the broad-tailed hummingbird when he swoops down, the male, the wings vibrate, and you hear that funny little noise.
Yeah, it's always exciting when those show up.
Yes.
Maybe we'll be able to drop some of these sounds in.
Yes. Oh, yes. Wouldn't that be
the
great?
podcast, so you can
kind of
know what those
timing
sound like.
Because when the ribes, the current, when it puts its little blossoms out, it's one of the first ones. That's about the same time that the hummingbirds show up, and it's a vital food source for them. So it's all about, we call it phenology. We study the timing of different events. And springtime is boom, 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 event after event.
Yeah. It can happen really quickly once it gets rolling. Yeah, we're feeling the sun right now. This is kind of exactly what we're talking about on a short term. Because when we first came out here, we were pretty cold and it was cloudy and everything. And now the sun's out and we're like hot almost, especially with the sun hitting it below your face. That's another tip for people when you come anytime. Sunscreen in the summer, in the winter. I think some of the worst burns I've ever had have been in the winter because it hits you from below.
Yep.
I like the sunburn in the nostrils.
Yes.
That's always a good one. I remember the first time that happened to me. I was like, what's going on? Yes, plan ahead. Yeah, those are all great things to listen for. We hear robin right now, right? So the hummingbirds, red tails.
The robins are our noisy little neighbors. They call loudly.
Yeah.
This time of year, you see a lot of juncos, finches, chickadees, white-breasted nuthatches, and the red-breasted nuthatch, speaking of sounds, who sings its beautiful little call. I always just say, okay, honey.
Sounds like a trombone with a cold or something.
It kind of does, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And who else is here? Green-tailed towhees are doing their little dance. The magpies are nesting. They build that huge nest with a front and a back door.
Magpies are fascinating.
They are my favorite bird.
They're so smart.
Oh, and beautiful.
Yeah, they are. They're beautiful. Yeah, when I guess on the blog we'll try to put up a picture of magpies for you to watch out for. They're pretty unmistakable.
Yes.
They're big, white body, long, kind of blue-black iridescent tail.
Yeah.
And they build, if you see a nest, it's pretty unmistakable. They're just
big dome.
Big structures, big dome structures.
And they're corvids, so they're smart.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Along with the jays and the...
Yeah, our Steller's jays.
Ravens.
All the corvids. Yeah. So you like birds a little bit.
I like birds a lot.
I get the impression.
I like birds. I like everything. That's why I'm a naturalist.
Well, that's true. It is a generalist.
I have a real plant obsession, and I love the trees, and I love the rocks, and it all works together to make a very nice world.
Yeah. Have you always led spring bird walks in the spring here?
Yeah.
Tell people about that a little bit.
Oh, it's a wonderful time to get out and see what's going on our calm spring mornings. There's no place more beautiful than out in the meadow, listening and watching, and again smelling. I love to smell everything too.
It's an important sense.
It is.
People forget about it sometimes.
It is, but you know how it's so linked to memory.
It is.
Yeah. So I think folks will come here and they'll smell something, and later they'll get a whiff of it and go, "Oh yeah, Rocky." So the spring bird walks are at 7. Or excuse me, they're at 8 now, and they'll be at 7 in the summertime. We have a wonderful mix of rangers and volunteers, our wonderful skilled volunteers helping us lead these. And this is the time of year when the migrants, the bird folk who go thousands of miles away, come back up and come home to Rocky. So it's great to see them arriving.
It's amazing. It's really amazing. Yeah, bird walks are one of many types of walks and talks. We have so much stuff going on, especially in the summer. When you arrive at the park, for listeners, you will get a newspaper when you go through the gate, and that will have all our programs. But if you want to look ahead of time or while you're visiting, if you're back in your hotel or whatever, if you go to our website, there's actually a little calendar up in the right-hand corner, and you can search for your specific dates, and it'll tell you everything going on those days. And all of our ranger programs are free.
Yeah, you betcha.
Right?
All included in your price of entry.
Exactly.
And boy, I sure want to encourage you to plan ahead if you can.
Yeah.
Because we are getting so busy, and there's times when there's no parking, and I know how frustrating that can be. But if you plan ahead, you can be where you want to be before the crowds get here.
Yeah, that is a really big thing as it gets more as Rocky gets more popular. I mean, it's great that we're more popular because that's what we want. We want more people to come learn about not just this park, but this place as a representation of, the Southern Rockies, the Colorado Rockies. But yeah, planning ahead is so key. Our website's great for that. You can do a lot of research, and we actually are going to have an article up there that you can go and see about planning ahead. And a lot of it is, look at ranger programs you might be interested in, see exactly what time they're going to be, kind of think about your day.
Yeah. We want to give you all the tools so your visit will be very successful and fun.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. We want everyone's visit to be great. We really do. I mean, that's what I think about all the time.
Sure.
Is all of you who are coming to visit us, we want you to have a beautiful visit.
I see people who get grumpy with the traffic in town.
Yeah.
And I always just laugh because I said, that's a mom and dad and 3 little kids, just like my car, and they're all having the adventure of their lives. I'm not going to get mad at them.
Exactly. Yeah. You just think back to that time.
Yep.
What are some of your favorite visitor questions that you've ever gotten?
Oh.
Are there some that come up on a regular basis that are...
There was one time that I gave terrible misinformation to a lady without thinking about it. She came to me at the front desk and she said, I've been here looking for elk and I can't see any of them. And it was a very warm spring day. So I said, oh, they're up in the trees. Their coats are so hot. And she said, I didn't know they could climb trees. So I misspoke. By being up in the trees, I meant taking shelter under the forest canopy. But I said it poorly.
Yeah,
she was very surprised.
Yeah. It's there's so many animals and things here that a lot of people aren't familiar with. So maybe elks do climb trees. Elk. That's pretty funny.
It was.
If you could give listeners you can give more than one, but one piece of advice for their visit, let's say this summer, because we're going to put this podcast up in mid-June. What do you think it would be? Doesn't have to be practical. It can be anything.
Oh, probably my biggest piece of advice is just come with an open heart and open eyes and look around and absorb this place. It's yours and it is magical. Be open to that. Don't get caught up in the traffic and where we're going to eat lunch and all the day-to-day things.
Yeah.
Let those slide to the back of your mind and your heart and just be here now.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice because I experienced that too in the park. Sometimes you have an idea of I want to do this specific or go this specific place.
Right.
And yet everywhere you go in the park, anything you do, I always find beautiful and enjoyable.
Yeah.
It just kind of...
Yeah. And the mountains will, John Muir said, their peace will flow into you. I find myself on the way to work thinking about getting the kids to the dentist. And I look up at the mountains and go, oh yeah, that's what's important.
Exactly. Yeah. Let it kind of, like you said, let it flow into you, let it calm you down. It's important to remember sometimes, all times. We already talked about bird walks. What are some other events this summer that listeners might want to know about? Or what about some of our night sky stuff?
Oh, we have several. They're primarily on Friday nights.
Yeah.
And I have a wonderful ranger on my staff who is a dark ranger as well as a park ranger, which means she is highly skilled in astronomy and the skills to teach that. We go out into these meadows here and we look up and I promise you, you've never seen stars like this. It is so magical. There are thousands. And we have a wonderful cadre of volunteers who come and bring their telescopes so we can all get a look. Last summer, I sat out here probably till about 2 a.m. watching Saturn, and you could see the rings, and it's just, it's impressive.
Yeah, it is stunning. It's really amazing. And the difference between near to town and then when you drive into the park a little ways is
if you're used
stark.
to a lot of light pollution in your urban sky, when you get out here and look up, you're going to be just amazed.
I mean, a lot of times you can see the Milky Way just before your eyes even get adjusted. Yes. You just look up and there it is. You don't even have to adjust.
Yes.
Yeah, those are great programs. Like what do we like to say, half the park is after dark.
That's right.
But it's really true. It's really true. There's just so much amazing stuff. And in the winters, too, we do some full moon walks sometimes.
We do.
Because
that's a magical night to be out. Sometimes we have to go in snowshoes, but we're out in the winter landscape under that full moonlight, learning about how the planet works and how the moon works, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah, so we have our night sky programs. If you go on our website, you'll find all of those listed. We also have evening programs, so not quite around when it's getting dark. Can you tell people about those?
Yeah, those are primarily located in our campgrounds, but you don't have to be staying in the campground to come. You can pull in and attend the campfire program as well. Actually, we call them campfire programs, but we don't do the fire part anymore because of fire danger. We have wonderful evening programs on every topic imaginable. It's a great way to learn about the park.
Those are in our amphitheaters, right?
Campground amphitheaters.
And all kinds of different topics, different people.
Different show every night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and those are nice because there's a lot of visitors around. It's kind of a nice, fun way to meet people.
Yeah,
communal
they're real
spirit.
family oriented, and some we do early before the sun goes down because we know we have some campers who need to be in bed.
Sure.
And then some we do as it gets dark, and we use a slide a PowerPoint projector for that.
I'm trying to think of some of our other programs. We have lots of walks.
We have visitors. Yeah, we have walks. We have programs that are tied to the visitor center because we know you're busy, but you might want to learn something but don't have time to go on a long walk. Walks, talks, everything imaginable. Just, again, check out those web listings and see what fits your needs.
I'm also thinking we also have some kind of fun, like Coffee with a Ranger. I think that's kind of an interesting program.
That's a fun one. Meet the ranger at 7:00 in the campground.
Yeah, exactly. And you can just, we try to keep it informal. It's just a chance for you to talk and ask questions.
And you know what we really use it for? We use it as a chance to really put our finger on the pulse of what the visitor is doing, thinking, feeling. And we really like the feedback of what your experience is like and how we can do better.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't even thought about that part of it. But that is a great opportunity to just talk and see how things are going with people. And then visitor centers, we also staff those.
Oh, yeah. Swing in and you can find maps, information, trail information, anything you need.
And then also the bookstores.
Oh, yes. Wonderful sales items with our partner.
What are some of your favorite books about Rocky?
Oh, let me think.
Other than anything.
Yeah. Well, field guides, yes.
Field guides are great.
That's what makes my knee go. Anything by Enos Mills. He was he's the father of our national park, and he was the father of really the rangering profession of taking people out into the field and learning. And he writes lyrically. You will fall in love with the mountains by reading anything Enos wrote.
Yeah, Enos. Maybe we could talk about him for a little bit because I think that's pretty fascinating, and definitely I encourage anyone to read because it's almost it's like halfway to poetry.
Yes, it is.
It's kind of halfway in between prose and poetry.
It is.
When did he come to this area?
He came when he was a kid.
Yeah.
He was like
same.
Same but different reasons. He was quite ill back in Kansas where he lived, and they had thought that maybe if he came out here and lived with his uncle in the rarefied mountain air, he would get better, and he did. He got strong and wonderful. And,
really?
Set up a mountain school, a nature school on the side of Long's Peak. And I can't remember how many times he climbed Long's Peak, but it's in the 300s, 400s.
Yeah.
He was like the king of that area. He knew it. He was such a good naturalist, and he could tell it in such beautiful ways that everybody got excited. And then he used that skill to get the idea of the national park going and campaigned for us all across the nation.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how many national parks have that sort of story. They have, a person or a small group of people that recognize the beauty of the place, and they really work hard to have it protected. I always find that really inspiring.
I do too.
Because it's just a few people who spearhead it. And then now we've had this park for 102 years.
Yeah.
102 years.
Thanks to their efforts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
so never think that you cannot help or make your dream come true. You can.
yeah. It really is amazing to read about all those folks. And so, Smills basically, I mean, what would you say? Did he create the idea of a naturalist as like a defined profession, or do you think he pushed it forward?
Nature guiding is what he called it. And he said, don't tell them so much the what, but get them excited about the how and the why and what it means to them. So he had the answers way back then. And his nature school was just a wonderful place to come and learn, and people would go up.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing for me that maybe surprises some people when they go on interpretive programs. And that's why I think that's part of the reason why we have our own term, interpretation, as opposed to education, because we're not just trying to bring people out and just throw facts at you all day. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, I think our main goal is, we know that people want to learn.
Sure.
We like it too. So we do that part, but we don't let it in there. We try to take it to that next step, which is something transformative, something inspirational. That's where people's hearts are touched. And our goal is to touch you in your brain with the intellectual and in your heart with the emotional. And we want you to leave this place a steward. We want you to leave this place a champion for national parks and for Rocky, and to do everything you can to help protect us.
Yeah, I think, not to get too much into technical verbiage, but we're also, I feel like that's a growing thing in the Park Service, these more interactive programs with rangers where, again, we're not just talking at you, but we actually want to have a conversation, not just between the ranger and the person, but between everybody that's in the group. And I've been on some of those programs, and it is amazing what comes out,
Oh, we learn so much from our visitors.
Yeah.
We look at it as being more of a dialogue than just I'm going to stand up here and tell you everything I know now.
Yeah.
And through that dialogue, everybody is enriched. Everybody learns, and everybody has a chance to be heard.
Yeah, I feel, on so many ranger programs, I mean, not just guiding them, but also being on them. It's amazing how you can have more energy and excitement when you're done.
Yes.
Than when you start. So it's very different than a class almost, because you're like, okay, I'm taking it all in. So by the end, you're like, oh, excited.
Yes.
I've had that experience at a lot of parks where you go on a ranger program and it opens your eyes up to things you hadn't even noticed maybe, or...
And it's the same thing for the rangers. The visitors keep our pilot lights lit. They keep us excited and enthused and in love with this place.
Absolutely.
Seeing it through their eyes is just wonderful.
And I love kids too.
Oh, yeah.
All of our programs are all ages. Is that correct?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So any kids are welcome. And I think a lot of times they have some of the most insightful comments and questions.
They do. I'll never forget
they'll
the
ask
time
a question. Yeah,
I had an environmental education contact with a kid, and we were doing these great programs, and he goes, "That was great." Then he looked at me, he goes, "Hey, you were teaching us stuff."
He saw you, huh?
And I thought, okay, my job here is done. He had a good time, but he learned, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And our Junior Ranger program is one of our most popular programs in the park. We have
I'm
wonderful
glad you brought
books.
that up.
And then we have programs up at our Hidden Valley area where we have Junior Ranger headquarters. And kids, that's just for you.
Yeah, so Junior Ranger, can you explain it a little bit, like the details of it?
We do 4 programs a day, and it's just a way to kid-level learning, the fun stuff, a way to learn about the national park and what's here. And then the kids can fill out their books. There's all sorts of fun activities and things to color and match and draw lines to, and then they get their badge. And kids, your badge is bigger than my badge, so it's pretty cool.
They are cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go to a visitor center or to a Junior Ranger headquarters.
Or Junior Ranger program,
Yep, and it's great. I mean, the books are I love the books here.
Oh, they're
at
beautiful.
Rocky. Yeah,
our partner helped design those.
They're all
Rocky Mountain Conservancy.
hand illustrated.
They're gorgeous. Yes.
Yeah, they really are.
And kids are really excited when they open it. It's not, it's summer oftentimes when the kids are here and they don't want to do homework, but it doesn't look like homework. It looks like fun. It's
There's
games,
searches and puzzles,
beautiful colors, and
it's just a great way. I mean, the kids learn about it, but the parents learn about it too because they're helping the kids, and then you get a badge, and it's just a great program, and it's free.
Yeah.
So there's
And we have some kids who hit our desk. They are showing up with little vests on with over 100 Junior Ranger badges, and they just inspire me. They give me hope for the future.
Yeah, it's incredible. So we have Junior Ranger books for different age groups. So,
Split up.
whatever the age of your child or yourself, we have something. I was
going to say, literally, whatever the age. I awarded a Junior Ranger badge to a 91-year-old gentleman once, and it was just a high point of my life.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow, what a good story. 91 years old.
He was grinning from ear to ear.
Yeah, it's a great program. I feel like I'm 32. I have tons of friends in their 20s, and who go and they collect them just like an 8-year-old. Like, it's just as fun. It's just as fun. This is going to be a complicated answer, maybe, but that's okay. We can muse on it until we're done.
Okay.
You've been coming to Rocky for a long time. What does Rocky mean to you? I know it's an impossible question, but so many.
Rocky is part of the fiber of my being. Something, this is going to sound all woo-woo, but something physically, literally happened to me the first time I saw these mountains.
Really?
I just fell in love. I said, they are the most beautiful. And everywhere I've worked with the National Park Service, like I said, every park has been a gift in some way, but I always thought these mountains here in Rocky, the Never Summer Range, the tundra, it touched me in such a way. My mom and I spent so many happy days with our noses to the ground and our butts in the air up on the tundra, learning about the botany up there. And it's just such a special place. It's inspiring to me. It gives me strength. It grounds me. I have a real mountain fetish, and I love to visit any mountains I can find, but these are the home range. And our poet laureate, Thomas, you'll have to dub this in. I can't think of his last name right now. But he said, you can say that I loved a range of mountains so much that I could hardly breathe. And that's what this is. And to have the honor and the glorious experience of sharing this with the park visitors, that's the best thing I could ever do with my life, because they're going to help me protect it, and it'll be just as special to them. It's not mine. I just happen to love it.
Exactly. I think that's such an important point for everybody, is that this park belongs to everyone. It's all of ours. Connect with it however it connects to you. Find the place that speaks to you. I had a similar experience the first time I went to Yellowstone. I mean, I'd never been in the mountains from the East Coast. I think I was 16 or 17. And I just was like, this is it.
Yep.
This is what I want to do. And I've been working in national parks at least seasonally ever since then.
Yay.
There's just something about it,
And that's one of the biggest things I want to tell people. Their jobs are hard right now. But please don't let anyone tell you that you can't be a park ranger. If you want to be a park ranger, you can. And it's my job and the rest of the rangers to help you get there. People helped me every step along my career, and I'm so grateful. So if you have a real itch to do this, if it's really in your heart, get in touch with a ranger somewhere, whether it's out here or in the park that's closest to your home, and just say, what can I do? And you can start as a volunteer. I did. When I was a master's student, I was volunteering at Redwood. Just get your foot in the door, and this can be yours if you want it.
I think that's a great message, and I totally agree. Every person that I've ever asked my whole career or as a visitor has always been so warm and welcoming and excited to have someone interested in it. So definitely, if it's something that you're interested in, for some people it ends up being a career. For some people it ends up being a few summers that they never forget, or winters if you work in southern parks, Everglades,
and
or something.
Just because you come out here doesn't mean you have to grow up to be a ranger. You can grow up to be a dentist, but you're going to be a dentist who loves national parks and will help protect them.
Yeah, that's great. I think this has been great. Thank you, Kathy, so much for coming out and talking to us. It's super fun. Who knows? Maybe we'll get together another time.
Sure.
It'd be fun to go up and
bring coffee next time.
Okay. Good note. Good note. We'll bring coffee next time. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And that's our show. Thank you for joining us for our very first episode of our very first official podcast. We hope that you will join us for the rest of the season. We have so much stuff lined up for you. It's going to be really fun and interesting and varied. Our next episode is on June 30th. We really hope that this podcast grows into something that's useful to you and useful to people all across the country and the world. So if you dig our show, please tell your friends to join us too. You can tell them in real life, or if that's getting too passé, you can tell them on social media or however else you want to tell them. And if you really want to help us out, please make sure to give us a review on iTunes. Reviews make it easier for people to find our podcast when they do searches in their podcast app or on iTunes or whatever platform they use. For show notes, transcriptions, and to learn more about our show, you can visit our homepage at go.nps.gov/RMNpod. That's RMNpod. The Rocky Mountain National Podcast is a product of Rocky Mountain National Park, one of 417 units of the National Park Service that preserve America's heritage for all, forever. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
This site high above the lake was once the location of the Going to the Sun chalets. Built in 1915 by the Great Northern Railway as part of a network of hotels, chalets, and tent camps, the chalets sat high above the lake on the rocky promontory called Sun Point. Constructed in the Swiss chalet style, the beautiful rock and log buildings could accommodate up to 200 visitors a night. In the days before the construction of the Going to the Sun Road, transportation in the park was an adventure. Visitors arrived at the Going to the Sun chalets by boat or horse. In fact, the majority of the visitors to the network of hotels and chalets operated by the Great Northern rode horses, and these chalets served as a hub for horseback travel over Pegan Pass to get to Mini Glacier or over Gunsight Pass to the Lake McDonald Valley. The chalets were closed during World War II and sadly never reopened again. During the war, the buildings fell into disrepair and were finally razed in 1949 due to their dilapidated condition. You can still visit the site of the chalets, which is a short walk from the parking area. As you stand at the old location, imagine sitting on the balcony of this spectacular hotel, overlooking the amazing vista, sharing tales of the day's trail ride with new friends as you rest up for a hearty dinner in the dining room. Today, the Sun Point Nature Trail starts here and offers outstanding views of St. Mary Lake, the stunning mountains of St. Mary Valley, and into the high country towards Logan Pass. The trail winds through forests and meadows to Bering Falls, where the water cascades across a sheer cliff into a natural basin carved in the rock. Hikers can also connect this trail with the St. Mary Falls Trail, the Trail to Virginia Falls, or the Sunrift Gorge Trail, ending their hike at either the St. Mary Falls Trailhead Shuttle Stop or the Sunrift Gorge Shuttle Stop. Vehicles longer than 21 feet and wider than 8 feet are prohibited on the Going to the Sun Road beyond Sun Point. Oversized vehicle parking is available at Sun Point, and drivers can connect to the shuttle system at this shuttle stop. In addition, a picnic area is located here. At Sunrift Gorge Shuttle Stop, a short 200-foot trail leads to an overlook where Bering Creek makes a sharp 90-degree turn after exiting a magnificent 800-foot-long, 80-foot-deep, narrow gorge. This shady, moist gorge creates a microclimate that supports a variety of different plants and animals than those found in the drier forests surrounding Sunrift Gorge. Watch for the dipper, or water ouzel, in the stream below. This stocky gray bird is the largest member of the sparrow family and gets its name from the unusual bobbing and dipping motion it makes as it hunts for insects in the stream. Watch for a while and you will eventually see it plunge right into the swift-moving water and literally fly underwater using its wings to maneuver through the rapid currents. When it comes back up, look closely and you might notice a large insect in its beak that it plucked from the rocks in the stream bed. Sunrift Gorge is also the trailhead for the Sayi Pass area. hikers can explore the high country of Glacier National Park on this spectacular high-elevation trail. The preferred route for this 10.3-mile hike is to start at the Sayi Bend shuttle stop and end here at Sunrift Gorge, since starting the trail here involves much more elevation gain. Hikers may also wish to venture up this portion of the trail for views of Bering Creek, abundant wildflowers, and later in summer, some great huckleberry patches. Just remember that grizzly bears love huckleberries too, so be cautious and always make plenty of noise on the trails. An impressive architectural feature of the Going to the Sun Road, the Bering Creek Bridge, spans Bering Creek here. The bridge was constructed in 1931, and many people consider this the most beautiful of all the structures built on the Going to the Sun Road. It was designed to blend into the landscape using the same red and green argillite that adds color to the mountains and color to the streams throughout the park. The bridge was also designed at a time when horses were the dominant mode of travel in the park. It is high enough and long enough to allow riders on horseback to travel comfortably underneath on their way from Sayi Pass to the chalets that were located at Sun Point. Part of the old horse trail is now the Sun Point Nature Trail, and a short quarter-mile walk down the trail leads to Bering Falls. Big Bend is a wide, sweeping curve about midway between the Loop and Logan Pass. Dramatic vistas of the Lake McDonald Valley and the high peaks of Mount Cannon, Oberland, and Heavens Peak make this a great place to stop and take a break from driving. Scan the hillsides for goats and the occasional bighorn sheep, although the sheep are hard to spot since they blend into the surroundings so well. Often, however, mountain goats can be seen resting on the impossibly steep cliffs overhead. Binoculars or a spotting scope will help. As you look up the mountainside, you'll notice several huge avalanche paths. The lack of trees attests to the fact that tons of snow and ice roar down these paths every year. It presents a difficult challenge to the park road crews every spring as they begin the annual plowing operations to reopen the road. Some years the avalanches are small and the snowplows can make short work of them, but often the crews discover 30 to 40 feet of snow piled over the roadbed, and it can take a week or more to plow this one short section of road. Avalanches are a real danger to the road crew as well, and USGN's avalanche specialists work hand-in-hand with the park to assess and monitor the snowpack and advise the staff of conditions. Spotters on the crews stand guard to radio reports of any snow movement high on the slopes in time to warn workers below. When weather prevents adequate observation or when snow conditions are deemed unsafe, plowing is not permitted. Safety is paramount, even if it delays the opening of the road by a day or two. The observation platform at McDonald Creek Overlook allows visitors to get an up-close look at this beautiful and powerful force of nature. In summer, the blue-green waters run clear and inviting, but in early spring, melting snows send a torrent of water cascading down the valley as it funnels through these narrow rock walls where it literally vibrates the viewing platform. It's easy to see the erosional power of streams from a vantage point this close. Streams also hide a more sinister side as well. In Glacier, the leading cause of fatalities is from drownings in creeks and streams. Even though the streams present a cool and refreshing appearance, please remember to use extra caution around water anywhere in the park. Stay on the paths and don't step over railings and barriers. As powerful as McDonald Creek can seem during spring runoff, it's nothing compared to the flood that came through this valley in November of 2006. Fed by huge amounts of warm rain, early mountain snows melted quickly and soon overwhelmed riverbanks throughout the park. This viewing platform survived, but just barely. Water pounded the railings and washed out and damaged bridges and roads in several areas of the park. Across the creek, huge trees left stranded as driftwood high above the creek provide vivid clues to the force of water. Glacier is a land of contrasts. Throughout the park, you will discover awesome examples of the power of nature, all set against the backdrop of some of the most beautiful scenery in the Rockies. McDonald Creek is an excellent example of massive power and delicate beauty combined. As you drive through the West Tunnel, imagine the time and manpower it took to bore through 192 feet of mountain using 1926 technology. Dynamite and jackhammers were used by men working double and triple shifts tackling this monumental task in October of 1926. Finally, winter temperatures of 32 degrees below zero forced workers to stop working and come back in April of 1927 to finish the job. Two interesting and impressive features of the tunnel are the observation windows that were created to offer spectacular views of Heaven's Peak and the upper McDonald Creek Valley. A sidewalk lines the tunnel and allows access to the window ports within. Please use extra caution as you walk inside the tunnel, as drivers passing in vehicles may not be able to see well in the reduced light inside the tunnel. As originally constructed, the tunnel was unlined, and over time seeping water started to weaken the roof, and bits of rock would occasionally fall onto the roadbed and passing vehicles. Its current smooth inner lining was installed to prevent damage to passing vehicles and help stabilize the roof.
Welcome to Core Facts, where we're always short on time and big on science. I'm Brian Campbell. Today's question is, why is Yellowstone called Yellowstone? Contrary to popular belief, Yellowstone was not named for the abundant yellow-colored rhyolite lavas in the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone that have been chemically altered by reactions with steam and hot water to create vivid yellow and pink colors. Instead, the name was attributed as early as 1805 to Native Americans who were referring to yellow sandstones along the banks of the Yellowstone River in eastern Montana, several hundred miles downstream and northeast of the park. And now you know. Join us again every week for a new Core Fact. For other Core Facts, or for Corecast, our in-depth science podcast, go to usgs.gov/podcasts. If you'd like to have a question featured on our show, give us an email at corefacts@usgs.gov or a phone call at 703-648-5600. Remember, long-distance fees do apply. Corefax is a product of the U.S. Geological Survey, Department of the Interior.
Nestled among the hemlocks and cedars on the northeast shore of Lake McDonald is one of the smaller and more intimate of Glacier's campgrounds, Sprague Creek. Its 25 sites and proximity to the lakeshore make this a prime spot for campers in the know. Several of the sites overlook the water and offer spectacular views. Due to its small size and the narrow loop road, trailers and other towed units are not allowed, making this the ideal spot for tent campers. Its proximity to the Going to the Sun Road might allow for more noise during the day than other campgrounds, but nighttime traffic is minimal. A picnic area next to the campground provides day use access for those just passing through. It's a great place to stop, enjoy a snack, and play on the lakeshore as well. Directly across the lake from the campground is Howe Ridge. In August of 2003, Howe Ridge was the scene of one of the most spectacular fires in Glacier's history. Pushed by high winds, the fire raced up the lakeshore in a matter of hours and threatened to continue on up the valley. Firefighters used a procedure called a burnout to stop the fire at the base of Stanton Mountain. And a burnout is pretty much just what it sounds like. A controlled fire is purposely set in a specific location to burn out all the potential fuel for an advancing fire. The burnout on Stanton Mountain took place at night and offered an amazing view from the lakeshore just below the campground. You can still see the dead trees across the lake today, and if you look closely, the strip of dead trees going up the mountain that contained the fire and stopped its spread up the valley. Glacier's new free shuttle system stops here also, so leave the car at the campsite and hop on the shuttle to enjoy an evening program at Lake McDonald Lodge, dinner at the restaurant, or a car-free day in the park. One of the truly significant features of Glacier National Park is the incredible biological diversity found here. In Glacier National Park, more plant species are found then either the cluster of Rocky Mountain National Parks to the north around Banff and Jasper, or in the Yellowstone ecosystem to the south. At Two Dog Flats, where the prairies meet the mountains, two of those major communities overlap, creating an edge effect where many species of wildlife find important food and shelter. Often where the edge of one habitat type overlaps the edge of another, there is an increase in the number and diversity of species present, resulting in associations and combinations of animal communities not generally found together. Here at the Two Dog Flats area, shortgrass prairie species from the east mingle with dry east slope Rocky Mountain forests, creating a rich environment. It's not uncommon to see coyotes and badgers hunting ground squirrels in the meadows while hawks soar overhead seeking voles and mice. Deer hidden in the forest during the day frequent the meadows in the morning and evening hours. Songbirds from the prairies and the forests alike can be heard singing their mating calls and territorial warnings. Predators find a rich source of food in areas like Two Dog Flats because of the abundance of food for prey species to take advantage of. These meadows are also important winter range for elk. Throughout the winter, a small band of several hundred elk can be found grazing in the flats and on the meadows down near St. Mary. These areas are usually blown free of snow by the near-constant winds in the St. Mary Valley, making it an easier wintering ground for them. In the spring, however, the elk move to higher ground and generally spend the summer in the mountains, seen towering in the background. If you're here in the spring or in the fall, expect to see elk in the evenings and the mornings. Two Dog Flats is beautiful any season of the year. Winter is stark and harsh, and few visitors see the park during this quiet time of the year. But in the summer, a profusion of wildflowers carpets the meadows and offer a treat for both botanists and wildlife enthusiasts. Spend a while at Two Dog Flats, and you will see that this meadow is alive with activity.
Hello, Rocky Mountain National Podcast listeners. We join you yet again for another great episode. A couple quick announcements before we begin. First, we have got a big pavement preservation project. So that means people are going around in the park and working on our pavement to keep it in good shape now and in the future. That's going on in the park and is going to be creating delays and closures over the next couple of weeks. Areas impacted are changing daily, so it's not just one area for the whole time. It's changing every day and are too complicated to cover in detail here, but you can get the full details on our website. Point your browser to nps.gov/ROMO. That's ROMO, nps.gov/ROMO. Look for alerts at the top of the page, and then find the alert related to pavement preservation and click more. That will take you to a news release that has the full details and a big old list to help you plan your trip. Second, monsoon season has been in full effect recently, with heavy thunderstorms rolling in nearly every afternoon. As always, please check the weather before your visit. Plan any hikes so that you are below tree line and away from dangerous areas before storms are set to arrive, and never leave the safety of a building or your car if thunderstorms are present. Stay safe out there. We know that thunderstorms are a common thing, and so it's easy to get complacent, but when you're here up in the high country and on the edge of rocky areas, people have been struck by lightning and even killed by lightning in Rocky, so please take it seriously. And now for our episode. This week we are joining Kyle Patterson, Rocky's Public Affairs Officer, to talk about what in the heck a public affairs officer does, the importance of sharing Rocky's amazing news and messages with the news and with you, and current issues at the park, and also what you can do to help us keep Rocky beautiful now and in the future. It was a super fun episode. Kyle's really fun to talk to, and I'm sure that you're going to learn a lot of neat things and hopefully enjoy yourself. So here we go. Enjoy the show. Yeah, so the way it goes, it's very
Okay. Very good.
Just talk about whatever. Okay.
We can do that.
We can do that. All right, so what is your name and what do you do here at the park?
My name is Kyle Patterson, and I'm the Public Affairs Officer here at Rocky Mountain National Park.
Public Affairs Officer.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to try to use the listener's mind.
Perfect.
And think the way that they would think. What the heck is a Public Affairs Officer? What does that mean? What do you do?
What do I do?
What do you do?
And it depends on the day. That's one of the reasons I love my job is
That's
what
true.
I do can vary greatly depending on the day. But my main job duties is media relations. So basically news releases for the park, proactive stories on different things that we do here at the park and our colleagues and the amazing things they do. And then some of what I do can be very reactive. So Rocky Mountain National Park is one of the top 5 search and rescue parks in the country. And so we all might have this perfect list of what we're going to check off that day. And then that gets changed very quickly and very dramatically with some of the incidents we have in the park. So some of what I'm sharing with the public as well is very reactive and highlighting some of the incidents that happen in the park and what our colleagues do to help folks, and also some of the preventative search and rescue messages so that hopefully if people are informed and educated and prepared, we won't have as many situations. So that's a big part of what I do is media relations. And then I also do a lot of community outreach. So giving presentations and programs to a variety of organizations and groups and members of the public and a variety of different forums.
Okay.
That's a big part of my life. And then I've got a lot of other duties as assigned as well.
So you're kind of the, are you the official voice of Rocky, or you're kind of the official word?
I
Is
am
that how it works?
I'm the official voice.
Okay.
Some people call me the mouth.
The
I'm not
mouth.
quite sure what that means or what, you know.
Maybe they're Lord of the Rings fans, like the mouth of Sauron. You're a Lord of the Rings fan? Not that much. That's a little deep, yeah. Some of our listeners will get it. You're like the mouth of Sauron, except instead of a horrible, evil eye living on a tower, it's Rocky Mountain National Park. Much better job.
Much better job.
Yeah, much better job.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Can look myself in the mirror. You know, I'm not quite sure that
Right.
mouth could.
Yeah. No, definitely not. That's interesting. So the proactive versus reactive.
Right.
Yeah. So the reactive stuff is probably what people can imagine most easily. Like, like you said, search and rescue. We've been posting some search and rescue videos and news releases and trying to summarize all of that sort of thing. What's that like when you hear about something going on, and then how does that whole process unfold? You get called at like 4 a.m. and they say, Kyle, how's it going?
So it depends on the level of the incident, but I'll be notified anytime we have any kind of incidents in the park, just as more of a heads up.
Okay,
And
so you're basically getting calls every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And all hours of the day. It depends. Certainly, fortunately, we don't have a lot of incidents that are happening overnight, but we certainly have incidents that start in the day and last overnight. And so a lot of it is, again, wanting to proactively share the stories of what our colleagues are doing to assist visitors that get into trouble or become injured. We have tragedies that happen in the park as well. So trying to share the story in a kind way as well is really important.
Yeah, that protects people's privacy and protects all sorts of things involved. Yeah, that must be challenging.
It is challenging, and since our incidents vary so much depending upon what people are doing and where they are, some of our search and rescue incidents, in fact, most of them are, people doing the right things, being prepared, and just, having a horrible thing happen to them somewhere in the park. And so usually it's not egregious that people are doing something and then things happen.
Yep.
And
there's objective risks
there,
out here.
There are, and
that's
there's
part of why people come.
there are a lot of risks, and falls are the number one injury in Rocky, and they're the number one cause for fatalities in Rocky. Well, when you work and live in a place called Rocky Mountain National Park, rocks are not very forgiving.
No.
And I think also just through the years you realize how fragile we are as human beings when things happen.
Doesn't take much.
It doesn't take much.
Doesn't even take that far of a fall.
No, it really doesn't. And so, certainly being try to be very professional and kind when sharing the story, and also knowing that this is a person that this has happened to, who have family and friends who, again, whether it's a tragedy, which fortunately we don't have very very many when you think of the level of visitation we
That's
have
true.
in the park.
Yeah, as a percentage.
It's a percentage, it's really low. But then also just being mindful of some of the severe injuries we've had in the park and incidents we've had in the park as well. And so certainly those stories get a lot of attention. And we also have a lot of stories that we share with members of the public that aren't necessarily kind of those dramatic search and rescue incidents that people are just as interested in. So that's my favorite part of my job, is to be able to help tell those stories and help our colleagues tell those stories. Because even though I'm the spokesperson and the voice of the park, we've got a lot of amazing people, as you know, that work here that are very articulate, that do amazing things.
I mean,
and
that's pretty much the genesis of this podcast idea, is just being around park staff. You're just kind of like, wow, there's so many. They're just interesting people anyway, and their jobs are so interesting. And I think that's what can be challenging, just from the perspective of people even working here. It's hard for even us who work here to keep track of and recognize all the cool things that people are doing, because there's so much going on. Like, how many permanent employees do we have?
There is so much going on. We have about 160 permanent
year-round, and then seasonal.
And then we have about 210 seasonal rangers.
So it's a big workforce.
It is.
And we're pretty spread out. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on at headquarters, but even there, people are out in the park. I hear about stuff all the time. I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't hear about that.
Right.
So that sounds like the most fun part to me. I mean, the reactive thing that you're talking about, where you're reporting on incidents, kind of breaking news that people want to know about, is obviously very important and can take a lot of time. But yeah, that's neat, thinking about it from like finding stories that are going on and finding ways to highlight them. And finding stories too, I feel like a lot of times you find stories that do that, but also educate at the same time.
Right.
Educate visitors. Could you talk a little bit about that part?
You bet. So, just the voices that we talk about too, and why it's great that we're having an opportunity to hear different voices through the podcasts, and just the experience level and passion that so many of our colleagues have. I love to be able to share those stories. And so it's great that we're using podcasts as another avenue to do that. That's my biggest regret, I think, at the end of each day, is not having enough time to be able to, this is a cool story, I want to highlight this. This is a great story, I want to highlight this. And or trying to grab staff to help share those stories. But that's not their primary mission of their particular position.
Right.
So they're like, I'd love to talk about it, but I've got to go tackle non-native species, or I have to go deal with, an elk in an exclosure. I have to, and so part of it is just...
Can I get 3 hours of your time? And they're like, no, I don't have it.
I would love to tell you my story. I don't have time to tell you my story. So if we
Especially in the summer.
Absolutely. So if we can help gather some of that for people to tell the story, that's great. And we'll never have enough time to share the stories. And I mean, as I just sit here now and just think about all of our different divisions and all of our different work units and all of the different tasks that people have, it's mind-blowing. I mean, we're basically a city.
We are. Yeah, I don't know if people realize. I was talking to, we had a class of designers, like graphic design, but also industrial design, which is interesting, who were here for a week. And I recorded with them like last Friday, I think it was. And that was one of the questions they had for me earlier. I just sat and talked with them. Was like, what are all the different things people do here at the park? And it was hard for me to even remember, honestly. I would go through a big list, like, we have interpretation, and then we have education, which is separate because it's curriculum based, and then we have law enforcement commissioned people, and then we have backcountry people and backcountry crews. But then I started thinking, I was like, wait, we have researchers, like, in all these different fields, and people managing elk, and people managing sheep and plants, and managing grants, and everything down to like sanitation and janitorial, which is so important. And I think people don't even think about it. And we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But, actually, we could talk about it now. I mean, I think we have some challenges that are emerging at Rocky, so we can talk about some of those too. But definitely we basically are a city.
We are.
I mean, there's very few things that we don't do.
Right.
There's a few just because we have Estes Park and Grand Lake.
Right.
So we're not like like when I worked in Denali or something, where it's literally like you are your own services, period.
Right.
But we're pretty close.
We are. And we're really fortunate here that we have the amenities, like the lodging and the restaurants and all of that is in our surrounding communities. So that's one less thing that we have to be looking at as far as just an infrastructure aspect.
That's a good, you spend a lot of time working with gateway communities, right?
I do.
Could you talk about that?
I do. We're really fortunate at Rocky to have great relationships with our surrounding communities. And Grand Lake on our west side, Estes Park on our east side. And those partnerships are really, really vital to Rocky Mountain National Park. It's very much a symbiotic relationship.
It has to be.
In both kind of the tourism promotional aspect of both of those communities, as well as the town management of both of those. So we work closely with both the town management and the staff that help run the towns, and then also the tourism outlets of both of those areas as well, just to continue to make sure that, one of the common goals that we both have is to continue to make the visitor experience of our mutual visitors. Oftentimes they call them guests. We call them visitors. Just a little bit difference in semantics.
Yeah,
but
park service lingo versus town lingo.
Absolutely. And so part of that is making sure that we're doing the best we can for setting visitor expectations, and more with our significant increase in visitation, that becomes more and more important to set those visitor expectations and to really highlight that plan ahead message, and that things have changed here drastically over the last 5 years.
Yeah, and we have so much interface too with them. It just on a practical level, like in Estes Park with the shuttles. There's the town shuttles, and then our shuttles, and they overlap to some degree. And figuring out all of that, and messaging is a big one. I know. So we'll talk about some of the challenges facing Rocky. We'll talk about that. Before we do that, how did you become a public affairs officer? How did that happen? How did you get to, because it's so interesting talking to, I feel like everyone we've talked to, and I'm sure it will continue, just like how did we end up in these roles? A lot of times we don't even know until we think about it. But how did you get into public affairs?
Absolutely. You look back and say, this is exactly what I knew I wanted to do, and I graduated. Well, I had no idea. It's something that I have a marketing degree. And so it's one of these situations where I knew that no matter what job I had, as I grew up, I wanted to be passionate about what I did. And so I feel very grateful and fortunate that that's what I get to do every day. But, certainly I was in the right place at the right time with the right experience that got my foot in the door. And I started at Mount Rushmore at a time when they were just completing a major redevelopment project.
Oh, was that when they did like that huge parking structure?
Everything was changed. The visitor center, the amphitheater, presidential walking trail, their facilities of, again, their concession area and their visitor center, and then parking structure. So in the mid to late 90s. So it was all complete around 1998.
Yeah, because I went, early 2000s, and you can tell that everything was kind of brand new.
It was.
Brand spanking new.
Yeah.
So you were there around that time.
I was there during that time, so it was really exciting, and most of that was funded by their friends organization.
Okay.
And so pretty amazing that a lot of that was not actually used federal funds, but so there was a lot of outreach around that, a lot of national media attention when all those changes were made, a lot of recognition of a lot of the donors that contributed to that. And so, again, being in the right place at the right time with the right experience, I had a background of both public relations, special events coordination, and marketing in some financial institutions. So all of that mixed together got me in the door. And so I was at Mount Rushmore for a couple of years.
Were
and
you
then
the public affairs officer
I was.
as well? Okay.
Public affairs officer, and then I've been at Rocky for 16 years in this position.
Wow, okay. So you were there for a few years and then came here.
Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of what got me in the door. And most national parks don't have public affairs officers.
No.
It's either a collateral duty that someone else does on the side, or
it's one person for like a whole group of parks or something.
Yes.
Like that.
But a lot of the larger parks like Rocky do have at least one person dedicated.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
One person dedicated to a variety of the roles that we play here. So that's kind of my story.
Okay. So you're at University of Wyoming in Laramie.
Yes, in business school. So I switched.
I
switched. The wind seems to follow me miles wherever I go.
Yeah,
I
you
must
just can't
have
get away.
had an issue with wind
Laramie,
somewhere.
Black Hills, and then Estes Park. Okay.
So certainly Laramie and Estes has made me even stronger when it comes to wind. But certainly it was still in the business school, and then I went into marketing and seemed like a better match.
Yep, better fit.
And I think also then what do you do with a marketing degree? In a way, because there's some of the possibilities are limitless. Yeah. And so again, that's when I was like, if I promote or highlight something, I want it to be something that I can feel really good about promoting and highlighting.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, that's why I feel really grateful, because I'm so passionate about the National Park Service mission as a whole.
Right.
And again, as we continue to see some of the challenges and opportunities that we have facing us here, I think it's another way too to just engage people at helping be part of the solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel the same way with my job, doing design and communication. It's great to be able to do something that you believe in and has a purpose behind it that you can really get behind. And I remember one of my coworkers at Harper's Ferry Center, who is a designer, and this is no slight to anyone who does this for a living. I'm just talking about her specifically. She was like, yeah, before I got this job, I was designing packages for like diapers. And now I'm doing design for National Park Service brochures. It's a different feeling. And she was like, that worked better for me. I was like, yeah, I can see that.
Right, absolutely.
Same here. So
did you get a degree in graphic design? Is that what did you know you were going to be a graphic designer?
No, I did
Is anybody asking Miles these questions?
No, but it's good. I'm glad. It's good. More back and forth. No, that's a good question. I was just like pretty much, I didn't do any hiking stuff or outdoor stuff growing up. I just stayed inside and read books and played piano. And so I did piano and chorus and jazz band and marching band, just all music and stuff. And so when I went to undergrad, I went to this small liberal arts school in Kentucky called Center College, Bernice Center College alumni and associated people out there. And my undergrad was in music composition and English.
Okay.
Double major.
Very good.
And then I started working in national parks between my junior and senior year. I don't remember how was it? Oh yeah, it was through, do you know Colette Dagelberg? A lot of people know her. She works at Yellowstone. Anyway, her husband had this site called Coolworks. And it was like you could look for seasonal jobs, and the internet was getting into its own at that time. And I don't remember how, but somehow I was just like, wait, I can get a job in Yellowstone making minimum wage as opposed to going home for the summer making minimum wage. Okay, sign me up. Yeah, so I went out there and got hooked and started doing internships. And eventually, after a few years, I was like, everyone around me seems to have a degree related to what they're doing. Maybe I should too. And then I got a master's degree in environmental studies from University of Oregon. But I did like cartography and design. So graphic design is kind of what I ended up falling into.
Okay.
I definitely feel like it's very related to the music and literature and all that. It's just like, how do you create balance? How do you create the right amount of tension? How do you make things exciting? How do you make things fit, and work well? And also communicating. You're communicating something. In the case of literature and music, it's a lot more esoteric and artistic, I guess you would say. And in this case, we're usually communicating specific information. But it's very similar. It's like, how can I arrange these elements to make the clearest and most engaging communication possible?
Right.
So I totally kind of fell into it as well. I went to get that degree and started making maps. Took GIS classes.
Right.
And then someone was like, oh, you're pretty good at this. You should see about this cartography lab, see if they are hiring any students. And so I did, and they weren't hiring me because I already was TAing 16 hours a week, and you could only work 20 hours a week if you're a full-time student. But I got an internship working on Atlas of Yellowstone, which is like a 250 page, I think, or somewhere around there, atlas of everything about Yellowstone, like everything. Actually, it'd be great if we had one about Rocky too. And I'd worked at Yellowstone for a couple of years. and done a ton of hiking and backpacking. So I knew the park fairly
Right.
fairly well for
Right.
2 years. And so, yeah, it all just kind of came together. And then when I was there, a cartography job at Harper's Ferry Center opened up because somebody had retired. And it was the first time they'd hired someone for that job in like 17 years.
Wow.
And I just
So
happened,
right
I just
place,
happened to
right
get it.
time,
Exactly.
right experience.
Yeah. For me, people ask me about it, like, how do I do that? And what's the path? And I'm like, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's being, just like you're saying, you just kind of, you're like, does this feel right or not?
Yeah.
And then exploring what does feel right and putting yourself into it like all the way.
Right.
And being really passionate about it. But anyway, that's kind of how it happened. Kind of a weird, I think that's, almost everyone.
Right.
Everyone so far that we've talked to, and I would guess almost everyone we talked to, will probably not have too straightforward of a story.
I know.
At least involved in national parks.
And I think that's part of it because we do get asked that question a lot. How
Yeah.
were you so fortunate to work at a national park?
Yeah, we wonder every day.
Yeah, and I think and for those that are also saying I would like to do that same thing. Sometimes it's hard because there isn't necessarily, and that's hard, especially for those that really want a position with the Park Service. There isn't necessarily if you do this, this, and this, then you will become this or become this, and so sometimes that's tough. But then I think also the breadth of experience also hopefully adds to just life experiences in general for all of us.
Oh yeah,
if we were to look back and say that is not at all the path I think it's pretty rare for people to know exactly. I mean, you hear that. You hear of people saying
in the parks.
When I was in 4th grade, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. Or when I was this, I knew that I wanted to do this, and they follow through. But I think for most people, we're very fluid creatures.
Especially in the Park Service. You kind of have to be. And I don't know. It hasn't come up yet too much on the podcast. Maybe it will at a certain time, but I don't know too if people know the lifestyle things involved sometimes. Like Lindsay Lewis, we were talking to in an earlier episode, or actually it'll be a later episode. Talking to Lindsay Lewis in a later episode, our volunteer coordinator, and just moving around all the time. And I did the same thing. And the amount of mobility that's almost required and the kind of places you have to live. And if it's your thing, then it's great.
Right.
But for a lot of people, it's not their thing.
Right.
It can be really challenging.
Right.
Especially in terms of like relationships and family and trying to find a job.
Right.
Or, and all those kinds of issues.
Yeah. Many times it's romanticized. And depending upon what stage you are in your life, you might be more able to do that. But then there also becomes other times where you have relationships that you're separated from because of it. And then it's not so romantic anymore.
There's so many different arrangements people have to figure out. I mean, I know people who for years, it's like, oh, I work at this park and my spouse works at this park. And we see each other every now and then on the weekends or like not even every weekend or I'm like at Grand Canyon. I know multiple people who they have a house in Flagstaff. Yeah. But they live up in the park during the week. So it's just like, we see each other on the weekends and people do what they have to do to make it work. So there's multiple angles to it. Maybe we'll have a lifestyle episode.
There you go.
Yeah, like a home and garden episode and just talk about all that stuff because I think it would be really interesting to people.
Yeah.
We are going to towards the end of the season talk to seasonal employees.
Good.
Just about their season
Great.
and beginning, middle, end, wrapping up, and what the experience was like for them.
That's a great idea.
How it's impacted them and that kind of thing. So we'll probably hear more of that stuff.
Yeah.
So you've been here 16 years, right, at Rocky Mountain National Park?
Yeah,
That's
16 years like this past week.
Oh, wow. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So
I'm not quite sure how 16 years happened that fast, Miles. How's that possible?
I'm still young. I'm 32, but I'm just starting. I mean, I definitely am perceiving this thing that everyone talks about that is a cliche, but is so true. Which is like time goes faster and faster.
Oh,
What's up with that?
Yeah. And
it's like how many years is it? What?
One of my favorites is, the days are long, but the years are short.
Yes.
And I think
that is so true.
I think that is like the first time I heard that. I'm
that
like,
is so
that
true.
is it in a nutshell
and
soundbite.
Especially in a position like yours, I think, because things just, just like a couple weeks ago, we had 5 incidents in a day.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it can seem to go on a really long time, but then afterwards, it's just like, what happened?
Exactly.
What happened to that day?
And we have so many stories and incidents in the park that we don't even have a chance to do news releases on them too. I think that sometimes the public is like, oh, you had a string of them and then you haven't had any since.
Right.
Just for instance, this week we had another day like that, but none of us had a chance to put a news release together. But we had 3 major incidents at Wild Basin on the 4th of July. A broken hip on one trail and a broken leg on the other trail. We didn't send out a news release about it. So when people ask me, is there something going on in Rocky? I say, I'm sure there is. It's just a matter of whether we know about it yet or not.
It's almost 250,000 acres. It's 4.5 million visitors last year, right?
Yes,
Just over.
Just over, yeah.
So you've been here 16 years. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
You've had lots of experience in one place. How have things changed from your perspective over that 16 years? Because I've been here a little over 2 years and it's changed a lot. So I can't even imagine 16 years. Like how the park and town too, because that's another thing people tell me. They're like, "Oh man, you should have been here 20 years ago. You couldn't get a cup of coffee in the winter." So that's obviously changed. But how have things changed over those 16 years?
There's been a lot of changes. And what's refreshing also is that a lot of the stuff stays the same. So I think we had an opportunity to reflect quite a lot in 2015 when the park celebrated its 100th anniversary.
Right.
To really, big anniversaries give you an opportunity to honor the past, which was part of what we were highlighting, and also, celebrate the present and inspire the future. Those were the three taglines we had. And so when you look at just how much our world has changed in a blink of an eye, really, when it comes to technology, when it comes to global aspects and all that, it is refreshing to really see that the reasons that people come to Rocky Mountain National Park are the same as what they were 50 years ago, 100 years ago. So to me, that is a wonderful thing.
I agree.
Because I don't know that very many other places, very many organizations, very many entities would really look at that, because I think that most of them would say, as a result of this and technology and this and these pressures and et cetera, people are coming here for the same reasons: scenic grandeur, watchable wildlife, and amazing recreational opportunities. So if you were to look back at photos from 75 years ago, it's the same exact thing.
Same.
The photos might look a little different.
The
cars look a little different. The attire and the gear looks a little different. But other than that, people were coming here for the same reason. So and you also wonder too, with just the fast-paced lives that we all live, the being connected all the time, the pros and cons of that, that more and more it just continues to emphasize why national parks are so important. Because we need places to have respite. We need places to disconnect. We need places to listen to natural sounds. And you don't know how much you need those places until you're out in them. And there's like tons and tons of research that highlights that. I mean, that demonstrates that even 30 minutes sitting on a rock in nature brings your blood pressure down.
Well,
I mean, that's fascinating.
It's interesting when I was talking to those University of Kansas students.
Yeah.
They were all, young. They're all undergrads. And some of them had camped before, but most of them had not camped for like a week. They stayed at Marine Park Campground the entire week. So they didn't,
that was their experience.
No electricity. No, that was their experience. And even though that's a developed campground and all of that, just talking to them, interviewing them, people will hear on that podcast episode. It just had a huge impact. They're just like, I don't know, just after a few days, I just feel so different. And
interesting.
I have different creative ideas coming to me because unlike indoors where things are kind of under control and the only new things that happen are what you make happen, out here stuff just happens. The weather changes, animals move, things, the light, everything is always changing. I could just tell it was like very impactful and important for them. And I agree with you totally. It's so easy now to get caught up in your phone and caught up in the computer and caught up on TV. And it's just like there's a never-ending stream that you can be plugged into. And so it's nice that our mission has stayed relevant, or like you said, maybe become even more relevant. So that stayed the same, which is great. We're supposed to be here forever. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Well, and I think as different things happened in just the 16 years that I've been here, whether it's had a lot of major incidents that have happened here, it's the things that people said after 9/11 in 2001, that people sought out coming to the park because they needed to get away from the news. They needed to get away from the constant bombardment of what happened to people on that day. And so it was interesting right after that people, flocked here because it was like, the mountains are calling for me just to remove myself from what's going on and find peace somewhere.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little bit before I was in the Park Service. So it was noticeable.
Oh, it was very noticeable. Very
That's amazing.
noticeable.
So it was like a place where people could come and have some space to like heal.
Exactly.
Huh.
And
wow, that's amazing.
And there's a number of stories out there, very moving stories that people have shared about coming here right after that time period that, brings tears to your eyes because it was a conscious decision that they said, I need to get away from what is happening right now. And so where can I go? And they came here. And so to me, that just emphasizes again why we need to preserve and protect this place.
Absolutely.
Because there's been a lot that's happened in our world the last 100 years since Rocky's been here. And so you can imagine that people came here after World War II. People came here for so many different reasons to find, peace and tranquility.
Huge growth in parks after World War II.
Absolutely.
I mean, huge.
Yeah. So, the mission has stayed the same.
Right.
What has not stayed the same is our level of visitation.
Yeah.
And
just
so
the sheer number of people.
The sheer number of people. And Rocky has always been one of the most popular parks.
Sure.
But what's happening in the last 5 years is we're seeing this rapid increase in visitation, 40% over the last 4 years, 32% over the last 2 years. So we now in 2016 were 4.5 million visitors. In 2015, we became the third most visited park. And then in 2016, Yosemite leaped over us again, and we were the fourth most visited national park. Yeah. And so there's lots of reasons for that. Most of it has to do with population growth along the Front Range.
Yep. It's booming.
It's booming, and some of the fastest growing counties are literally either in our doorstep or on our doorstep. And so when a lot of people are moving to Colorado because they want to recreate in places like this. It's what calls to them, and so we're handy, head straight up, and so that's a wonderful problem to have. And I use air quotes with problem because a lot of folks might say, well, hey, that's better than apathy. That's better than people not enjoying, and hopefully those people will become or are already supporters, stewards, protectors, and help us preserve this place as well.
And a shared experience, too, which I think is cool. People all over Colorado can, you've been to Rocky? I haven't. That's kind of a communal thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So in that case,
our visitation continues to spike dramatically.
Yeah.
And if you look over, you look in the past as far as our visitation levels over the years, it seems to, there's patterns of it increasing and then plateauing and then increasing and plateauing. So that's been part of our past. We're now at a point, again, where we are significantly increasing. When and if that's going to plateau, I don't know that we can continue to deal with the level of visitation increases that we're seeing. I don't think that we can continue to see 32%, 32. I just don't know that that's possible because of just the infrastructure.
It's physically possible.
Physically possible for that many people to arrive in the park and all that. So I don't know that we're going to continue to see that dramatic growth just because of logistics.
Yeah, just limitations.
Yeah, limitations. Even before we take any actions, just limitations in general. But certainly, as we look into the future and we look at just this dramatic increase over the last couple of years, record visitation every year, the last 4 years, record visitation every month of the year. So maybe our old model was Memorial Day through late September.
Yeah.
We now know that model is completely out the window.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing record visitation every month of the year. And it's not just Rocky. Public lands in general in Colorado are seeing, huge increase in visitation. And then some of the impacts related to that.
Yeah.
So certainly that's been a significant change over the last 4 years. And this rapid growth that you just can't keep up with. So in 2015, we were completely on our heels. That year, we had a 21% increase in 1 year. And although visitation continues to go up, our staffing does not.
Yep.
And so after a while...
And that's something that surprises people. Almost everyone I tell that, they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, we have...
Yeah.
either equal or even less staff than we've had in the past with way fewer visitors.
Exactly. We have less staff now.
Yes, despite having way more visitors.
Yeah.
Like
so
millions more.
Yeah, we have less staff now than we had 8 years ago.
Yep.
And so, that's something that we as a leadership team need to continue to address because our colleagues' well-being is extremely important. And we need to make sure that we're keeping that in mind. And so as we continue to, deal with some of the challenges and steps we're taking now, we're looking at 4 areas. That visitor and staff safety is extremely important to us. Resource protection.
So that resource, when we say resource in Park Service, we mean like the park at every level.
Absolutely.
So the physical part, the view sheds, the quality of the night skies, the quality of the soundscape, the cultural and historical landscape. That's all. When we say resource, we mean all of that.
Right.
Okay. So resource protection.
And then just, wildlife habitat, everything is kind of surrounded into that.
Yes. Everything involved.
And then visitor experience.
Yep.
So what kind of experience are visitors having with this level of visitation? And then operational capacity. Like truly what can our infrastructure take? Whether it's restroom facilities in Bear Lake, whether it's our trail system, whether it's our roads, all of our infrastructure. What can our infrastructure, operational capacity take with this level of visitation?
Right.
And so those are the kind of 4 overarching areas that we started moving forward in 2016, looking at all of those things and taking some short-term steps, and then also, realizing and knowing that we're also starting the long-range planning efforts as well.
Yeah.
And it's going to take all of us to come up with the solutions and also potentially make hard decisions. And again, when you think about the mission of the Park Service, that dual mandate, very, very difficult balancing act.
Yeah,
the whole preserving and protecting for future generations, and then providing for recreational opportunities now. I mean, in a nutshell, it's a little bit more involved than that.
Yeah, but that's basically
truly
it.
what the balancing act is.
For listeners, if you look up the enabling legislation for the Park Service, you'll see, that it's protecting, basically,
right,
but also providing for the enjoyment of. And sometimes, as you can imagine, those things can come into direct conflict because, for example, let's say that it's enjoyable for people to have 10,000 people around Moraine Park in like stadium seating watching elk. But that is not the best thing for elk.
Right.
And maybe not the best thing for those people. Maybe that's not protecting their experience in a certain way. So that's just one example. But it's just the constant.
It is.
I don't know if I want to say conflict, but paradox or dual goals that we're always working under.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes it's more of a dilemma than others.
Yeah, and I felt like it's hard, not just here, but with other parks that are experiencing really high visitation. And like you said, it's not necessarily the hard number that matters as much. It's like the capacity.
Right.
What capacity are we at in terms of restrooms, in terms of parking spaces, in terms of. And I feel like, there's other parks, Zion, Yosemite, Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, Smokies, and there's a lot more than that, and us. And it, to me, is difficult. It's almost like an identity crisis because for years, I feel like with parks, it was, we need to get more people out to the parks because we want more people to see how amazing they are and to have that experience and enjoy their public lands and their heritage, and even to the point where I remember, like at Black Canyon, the Gunnison, for example, when I worked there, it's very quiet in the winter, which is great if you live up there and you like it to be quiet. But on the other hand, we're always kind of like, oh, why don't more people come up here and realize how amazing it is? Well, now at Rocky, they are. People are coming in the winter.
Right.
Winter weekends, parking will get full. Like, it happens a lot.
It does.
And they're coming in the fall, and they're coming in the spring. They're coming in these less or more challenging weather times, but that also have their own beauty, which is great. It's just also like, oh my gosh.
Well, and we hear from visitors that say that they're not coming anymore, too.
Yeah, and that always makes me sad.
Level of visitation. So that's another thing we need to be looking at, is also making sure that not only are we providing an experience for visitors now, and that's a hard thing to hang your hat on, because what you think is a valuable experience and what I think is a valuable experience might be very, very different.
Absolutely.
And we see that all the time with our visitors. What some person considers as crowding, if they're from, a rural setting, or their mindset is this is going to be their experience. And then if somebody comes maybe from an urban situation and they feel more comfortable when there's lots of people around.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to say, what's the visitor experience? Well, it's so individual.
It is.
But I think we also have to acknowledge that we continue to hear from people that are, I'm not coming back, or I just came there and I hadn't been there in 5 years, and it was, a very
crazy.
different situation, crazy. I did not enjoy it. I think those are all conversations we need to have, so that we have to remember that we are a national park. So we have to take all of those voices and feedback in mind as we continue to think through how we move forward. And it's not just about all of us.
No.
It's about those that are coming here 30 years from now, about our grandkids and nieces and nephews, and all of these generations that, those that came before us.
Yeah.
We would have been pretty ticked off at them if they wouldn't have taken care of this place. And so we also need to take ownership as a country, as a community, as a however you want to say it. We also have to take that ownership to say, how are we leaving this for folks that are going to come 30 years from now? And the decisions that we make now are going to make a significant difference in that. And so that's a big part of what we're needing to address.
So on our end, on the park end, we have all sorts of stuff going on right now to look at, just trying to get baselines, basically, of what visitation is, what are the patterns, what do people want out of their experience, what are they looking for, kind of collecting data, correct?
Right.
And then we're using that data to begin well-informed, to basically inform our discussion internally and then with the public, to just say, this is what's happening, these are the facts on the ground, these are the pros and cons, and what do we want to try to do in the future to figure it out. And for me, I think it's a little scary because we don't know the answer, but it's also exciting because we don't know the answer, and we're trying to figure it out with people.
Right.
And I think, one thing with this podcast that I want people to be able to experience, having these conversations that are just very straightforward and very non-formal and very, like this, is that we are not trying to make rules to kill anyone's fun. Like, everyone I talk to in the park, we got into parks because we love parks, and we love visiting parks, and we love we love it so much we wanted to live in a park.
Right.
And so we totally get that, and we want people to have the best vacation or whatever personal growth experience or whatever their experience is. So, but the reason we do have regulations is because that protects side.
Right.
We're trying to protect it, like you said, for future generations forever.
Right.
So what are some of the key things with this growing visitation that we are asking visitors to be aware of and to do that can help us?
Right.
Help us help them. Help me help you.
Exactly. So there are a variety of things. And one is just continuing to do things like this, where we engage and connect with visitors to help us come up with some of the solutions,
to hear
their voice and informing each other as well. So we took short-term action the last couple of years because we had to. As I mentioned, we were completely on our heels in 2015, saw the ramifications of that, not only on the resource, but on visitors and staff. And so because of just the crowding. So we started putting restrictions in place along the Bear Lake Road Corridor, Wild Basin, and Alpine Visitor Center, which are our three main congested areas, starting in 2016. And there was not some magical time on the clock on Saturday that we said, okay, every Saturday at 10:18, it's meant to be very fluid, and we're moving forward with those restrictions this year.
I think people need to understand that it's safety based.
Right. It's safety based.
For example, I mean, if there's just miles of cars in every direction and something happens, let's say it was someone you're hiking with, and we need to get an ambulance up there, we can't get an ambulance up there because it's so crowded. And so that was part of it, right? We just were saying this is becoming unsafe.
Right. There are lots of parts of it. So that is one of the main reasons. And we had examples in past years where we literally could not get emergency vehicles down in areas or to areas because of the sheer congestion along the roads and the way people had parked that we could not get, and it absolutely impacted our response time.
Yep.
And so that's a big part of why we made these decisions. And places like Wild Basin Road, which is a dirt, narrow road that leads down to the Wild Basin Trailhead.
Yep. Got to use pullouts to pass people a lot of the time.
All it takes is, a couple of people parking because they can't find a legitimate parking space, so they park somewhere, and now the back of their vehicle is out in the middle of the road, and they leave their vehicle, head in to go hike, and then, just trying to get around and maneuver around those vehicles, again, in emergency vehicles.
Or just other visitors.
Visitors.
It's a consideration for everyone else.
Yeah, and if we had to evacuate an area because of fires, that's also, a concern as well, because you have all of these people that are kind of down a narrow dirt road. So these are all things we have to keep in mind. And then just the resources. So once parking areas filled up, once legitimate parking spots filled up, we were seeing that, unfortunately, visitors were parking on the resource in places that you would not have thought was even possible.
Right.
And so we were seeing significant resource damage and impacts as a result
like the vegetation
of that.
And things
Vegetation,
like that.
yeah.
Where
And,
the sides of the road start looking like baseball fields or something, they're just dirt.
Exactly. So then there goes the whole aspect that we are required to provide as far as resource protection, that native vegetation, other aspects of just what happens to wildlife when you have that many people in an area. So again, we took steps with that in mind, and then just truly what our facilities could stand. So when there's that many people in that area, even if we had a custodian cleaning the bathroom every 30 minutes, the condition of our facilities were very, very poor just because of the volume of people that were there.
Yep.
So for all of these reasons and many more, we started restricting vehicle access. So when parking areas fill and the congestion warrants along the roads starting to become an unsafe situation, then we start putting restrictions in place. Last summer, that was June through September, every weekend is when it usually happened. And the same thing has been happening this year as well, and it's actually moved into some weekdays.
Really?
As well,
Wow.
just because of our level of visitation.
Yeah.
Same,
because we've been setting some new records, right?
Same challenges of Alpine Visitor Center.
Yeah.
So, we got two roads that now, with Old Fall River Road
Old Fall
open
River
for
Road
the
empties
season.
into the
So you
Alpine
got
Visitor Center
two
parking lot.
roads that empty, and all it takes is a couple people wanting to turn into that visitor center from Trail Ridge Road, and you soon have backups for miles as a result of that. So those are all things that we're trying to tackle best we can, but you have to kind of intensively manage those areas too. And in 2016, we actually had less complaints because we took those steps in. In fact, we had a lot of people that reached out to us and said, finally,
really,
if you plan ahead, you can get into these areas.
So it helped.
And I think also we saw a lot of belligerence amongst visitors. And so that, with putting those restrictions in place, that helped ease some of that belligerence.
Just helps keep you out of
crowding.
a situation that you can't win.
Right.
Like if you're driving around looking for parking and it isn't there, you're just going to get frustrated.
Yeah.
And
right.
I can understand that for sure.
So a lot of it is helping us better inform the visitor. So a lot of that too is, again, really trying to convey the plan ahead message. So many of our visitors are return visitors. They come here year after year, or maybe they haven't been here for 5 years. Their experience is very different than the way they remember it 5 years ago. We also have a lot of visitors that are coming up here for the first time. They jump in their car on a Saturday at noon, and then their world is rocked when they get up here and realize that our entrance station lines are long and there's no parking. So a lot of what we've been trying to do for the last 3 years is really doing as much as we can to encourage people to plan ahead. We realize that there's going to be visitors that don't do any planning ahead, and they're extremely spontaneous, and I envy that. I wish I was that spontaneous. But really, other parks, I believe, other parks have put in their catch lines, do not be spontaneous when coming to a national park, particularly May through October.
Yep, not a busy one, yep.
Yeah. And so I think that that's a lot of, if people do truly plan ahead, look at some of the tips that we have on our website and
got it on the homepage.
On the homepage, it really, really does make a difference. And we realize that people are listening, so we always did that hike early. Well, no surprise, we knew this was going to happen, that people are now coming here earlier, and so that means our parking lots are going to fill up earlier. So I know that some parks say come prior to 7 or after 6 p.m. That might be part of our future here
because we
at
have
Rocky.
been saying 10 to 3, right?
Yeah.
But it's
well,
shifting.
It is, but we say, that 10 to 3 is that crunch time. So the earlier people come or the later people come outside of that 10 to 3, they'll have more success and they'll have a more pleasant experience.
Yeah.
And we continue to see this huge influx on weekends.
Yep.
So if people could even just tweak their schedule and come on a weekday, even in July, weekday, it helps a little bit.
And
but weekends,
in the fall, it's huge.
Yeah,
I mean,
huge.
I get that it's hard for people in the fall because kids are in school and blah, blah, and all of that. But yeah, the fall here.
Right. We have about 50% higher visitation on weekends in the fall than we do weekdays. And that's changing a little bit too. But it's some of our busiest days for the year are weekends in the fall because it's a glorious time to be here.
So before 10, depending on your trailhead, maybe
even earlier than
8,
that.
7, almost 6 for some trailheads.
Exactly.
And then after 3.
Right.
And I definitely see that to be true because I'll come in after work sometimes and it's a lot less busy.
So those are
weekdays over weekends if you can.
Right.
Okay.
And then, again, just the whole concept of carpooling, using the shuttle system. And
our shuttle system is great.
It is great. And our shuttle system's been around since the 70s. Our shuttle system, got improved in the early 2000s. We started our shuttle system, worked closely with the town of Estes Park. They were able to, take advantage of the shuttles being in this area to also then expand the shuttle program within the town of Estes Park. And then we have the hiker shuttle that's a park shuttle that runs from the Estes Park Visitor Center up to Bear Lake.
Which has a new parking garage.
And there's a new parking garage there.
So more spaces there.
And the shuttles run every 30 minutes. So again, people need to set the expectation that those buses only run every 30 minutes. So there is a very good possibility, again, if they're here on a busy weekend, that they might stand in line for that hiker shuttle for more than an hour before they can ride into the park.
Which can be a little. It can feel frustrating, but the other thing that I kind of like about it sometimes, number one, you get to meet people and talk to people, which is kind of fun. Number two, if you weren't doing that, you would be sitting in your car trying to negotiate traffic that hour. And then when you do get to go into the park, you can just enjoy the view and not worry about finding a place to park.
Right.
So
exactly. And there are some advantages. And we also try to highlight at the hiker shuttle if they are coming between that 10 and 3 period, and our restrictions are in place. And so that's the only way they can get up Bear Lake if they're really focused on going to Bear Lake is, go walk around Lake Estes, go into town and have lunch, come back and get on the hiker shuttle, say at 3 or later. Then they won't have as long of a wait time. And so again, it's setting realistic expectations, just like anywhere else we go, whether we're going to, anytime we travel, if we can set realistic expectations for people. I know that when I travel, I want people to be straight with me and say, this is how long this is going to take. This is rather than, everything is just fine. There was a big thing of lightning that came down over Prospect Mountain.
Pretty close. All right.
So, I don't know if we want to. We could finish it in the car.
Yeah, we could wrap up in the car, so we don't get electrocuted, lightninged, fried. I'll pick this little baby up.
There you go. I got this.
Right. So we've got the shuttle bus system. Definitely take advantage of it. Sometimes it is your only option, but even when it's not, I often will use it just because I find it less stressful.
Right. And, something that we often get asked is that we've been asked either just have it be bus access only into Bear Lake Road Corridor. We've also been asked oftentimes, why not more buses? Why don't you run buses every 5-10 minutes? And buses are certainly a great tool to move people. But as soon as you start using buses, then your capacity changes greatly. So the trailheads and the parking areas were the former capacity to these areas, but if you continue to increase shuttle access to areas, then you just surge oftentimes users into the area. And we've learned from our colleagues in other national parks like Zion that buses, also provide challenges. Where even with the frequency of buses that they're running, they still have pretty significant wait times as a result of it. So shuttles are a great tool to use, but they're not the only tool that we can use here at Rocky. And they also, cost money. So funds that we would be using towards shuttle buses is very limited as far as our entrance fees. And so it would certainly be part of the overall plan to see what funding would be available. And that would be a side note as far as just looking at the capacity and what resource impacts you would have if you continued to just surge people.
Right.
And then what's the visitor experience? If you happen to be at a trailhead or getting off a bus with 40 other people, is that the experience that you're looking for when you're hiking into the park?
Yeah.
So these are all things that we have to look at when we look at how we're going to use shuttle buses as a tool.
Right. So before 10, after 3, use shuttle buses as a tool. Any other things that tips we can give people to help have the best visit possible?
The whole concept of hike early, hike late is really key. And if people do decide to hike late, they really need to be dialed into the weather forecast.
Yep.
That will make a big difference.
Yep.
And truly just what time they will be coming out. Is it going to be dark?
Yeah.
If it is, then they need to make sure that they are prepared for that. Whether it's being really dialed into the route and not going off trail, which we don't encourage anyway.
Yeah.
And then also just making sure, you have headlamps and things like that as you're coming out. So you have to look at your hike very differently if you are going in later in the day.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely check the weather forecast.
Right.
It's our typical pattern here to have afternoon thunderstorms every afternoon. We're not always in that pattern, but a lot of times we are. We just ducked inside because of that very pattern, because lightning started. So, that's definitely one thing to think about, because especially a lot of our hikes go above tree line. You don't want to be above tree line if there is lightning anywhere around. So watch that really carefully. But as long as you do watch the forecast, hiking in the evening is great a lot of the time, especially when this light's long in the summer. Okay, so that's a good tip. Hike early, hike late.
And then the other thing, again, as you're planning ahead and thinking about your destination, is that 80% of our visitors come in through the east side of the park, 20% from the west side.
80%, wow.
Yeah, so in which would make sense when you think
Sure,
about
populations.
the populations and Denver International Airport and elsewhere. But certainly if people want to just know that fact when it comes to planning, they might choose what entrance they come in based on where they're coming from or their interest in what they're looking at. So that's just
we have the whole west side of the park.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah. And I think the other is camping, which we know, but
this one
if
surprises
people want to
I
camp
think.
in the park, we've got 3 reservation campgrounds, 2 first come, first serve, and those 3 reservation campgrounds are booked 6 months in advance.
Yep. So that's
part of
Aspen Glen, Glacier Basin, and Moraine Park, right?
Yep, exactly. So
Booked
people
6
just
months in advance.
Yeah. So if people want to camp, they really need to book those reservations, and it's good. Then you have a place.
Right. And you can do that online.
You can do that
go
online. So mark your calendar, and it's 6 months
you can pick your exact
prior
spot, see it on a map, get all very. But plan way ahead.
And that's pretty typical, not only for Rocky, but most other public lands and federal lands in this area.
Especially in this area.
Yeah. And first come, first serve, certainly if people want to roll the dice and hope that they can get one of those first come, first serves, Timber Creek Campground on the west side is the campground that fills up last. So that's just some other tidbits. And we already talked about the significant difference between weekend versus weekday visitation. And then the last thing too is people can purchase their pass online. So if they're wanting to take the hiker shuttle, an entrance pass is required for that. People can purchase that online. If they're coming into the park, they can purchase the pass online. It doesn't speed up your time in the actual line. So some people are like, well, if I do this online, do I have to be in the entrance station lines? Yes, you do. You do. But the big thing to remember is just that it should shorten your transaction time.
Yes,
so
most definitely.
Rather than handing the person in the one of our colleagues in the booth your credit card, going through that whole thing, you just basically can show on your smartphone that you've purchased the pass.
And then they'll say, here's your brochure, here's your newspaper.
So it does speed up the transaction time at the booth. So that would make a difference. The more and more people that use that, then the quicker the lines
And
will
for people
go.
who want to do that, if you go to our webpage, just search Rocky Mountain National Park. It'll come up. It's on the front page, fees and passes, and you can go right there. It'll take you straight to a form. You can fill it all online.
Yes.
Works well.
Yes, works very well. So that's just another tool that people can use.
Awesome. Anything else that we should cover?
I think
because I have one final question, and then we'll be done.
Very good. I think the other thing that we could spend a lot more time on, that maybe we can talk about at a future time, but the plea to continue to ask visitors to help us protect this resource.
Yes.
And we have seen, this increase in visitation, and I think a big part of what we talk about is that most of our visitors are here for all the right reasons. They love this place. They want to protect this place. They have this amazing sense of place when they come here, that they want to protect it. We are seeing, though, more and more behavior that we're really concerned about, that we're seeing increase. Now, it's probably the same percentage of visitors, but now when you're at 4.5 million, that same percentage of visitors is going to have more impact.
What kind of behavior?
So we're seeing, a number of behaviors that either are tied to people not knowing or not caring. And so what we'll all just have to continue to work on as best we can is the behavior that people just don't know about. It's the first time that they've been to a national park.
Yep, all sorts of new stuff.
All sorts of new stuff, continuing to highlight that these are special places. We want to keep them special places. National parks are not meant to be all things for all people. They're not multi-use places like some of our colleagues in other areas.
We have a lot of that land in the United States.
We do.
That's just not what national parks.
Right. So U.S.
That's not why we were created.
U.S. Forest Service. They have amazing places where they are multi-use, where
BLM
people
too.
can do a variety of more activities than they can in national parks. So we do have those places.
And we have a lot of Forest Service land in Colorado.
We do.
Like 13 million acres, something like that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. We have a lot. And so I think, continuing to highlight that national parks are special places. And some of the behavior that we've seen increase, we talked a little bit about before, as far as just parking challenges, that when we have crowding and when people don't have parking spaces, we continue to see people be extremely creative with where they're parking in the park, whether it's on, native vegetation, whether it's on the tundra, whether it's blocking other cars in, whether it's, in ditches and near water streams and rivers. And so that's a concern for us. And, again, really trying to highlight that, even though somebody might consider this, well, it's just grass, it's not just grass. It's native vegetation. All it takes is one car. And, we are in a very unique habitat that stuff doesn't grow here that quickly.
No.
And so ripping it out with tires, et cetera, or putting hot cars on top of grass also can present a whole nother set of challenges when it comes to like catching on fire
in the summer.
Yes.
Yep, I've definitely heard of fires started that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so parking in established, developed parking areas, we need to continue to just get as much help as we can from the public on that. Speaking of fires, we're seeing in the last couple of years extreme concern for park staff, and that we've seen a huge increase in the amount of illegal campfires in Rocky Mountain National Park. And so that not only concerns us, but it obviously concerns our communities that surround us. If a fire was to escape from an illegal campfire, which has happened in Rocky Mountain National Park, it will drastically change all of our lives in a matter of 30 seconds.
Yep.
It happened in 2012 with the Fern Lake fire. That fire started with an illegal campfire in the Forest Canyon area in October. Extremely dry time for us. November was the driest November on record. And that fire cost over $6 million to fight, and a big part of Estes Park was evacuated from that, and again from an illegal campfire. So that's
So when you're in Rocky, if you are not in a campground or picnic area with an established fire ring, you're not allowed to have a fire.
Right. We
It's
always
a simple rule to
have
remember.
restrictions in place in Rocky for fires, and so
we understand for sure that a lot of people, when they're camping or whatever, they like to have a fire, and that is totally fine. And there's lots of places you can do that. Rocky's just not one of them.
Exactly.
So if that's really important for your backpacking trip or whatever, find areas where that is managed and allowed for.
Right.
Here it is not.
We've had
protect other people and protect yourself and protect the park.
We've had people illegally starting fires on the tundra, right by trailheads, and talk about a fragile ecosystem that does not recover.
Yeah, we talked about that with Cynthia.
Great.
Yes.
So certainly that's a big thing, and a lot of that group is those that don't care. So that's another way to address that is continuing to do patrols, and we're really fortunate, Rocky, because we've got so many sets of eyes and ears out there.
Yes, and visitors,
a pro to our level of visitation, and boy, do we hear as soon as people start smelling smoke, seeing smoke. They'll take pictures of it. They'll take pictures of people that are in the area. It's amazing the things that people do to help us try to prevent that. So
and another thing we can plug, another thing people can do that will lay this out specifically for you is the Rocky Pledge, which we've worked on together. It's on our website. If you go to the homepage, you'll find it, or if you go to go.nps.gov/Rocky Pledge, and it has a couple 6 bullet points, I believe, items of like the main things you can do to help us protect the park. And you can go there, look at the pledge, read through it. You can say it out loud with the group, say it to yourself, snap a photo in the park of you pledging, and share it with your friends and family. Because we're trying to get the message out there, and in a positive way, that this is your national park. It's all of our national parks, and so we're just to take care of it, to take pride in it, just like you take pride in your own home or your own community is maybe a better metaphor. Yeah.
Right. Somebody once said, which I love, it's like act like you own this place. And really that's truly what we need everybody's help with. We talked about some of our challenges with staffing before, and so we can't be everywhere. We'd love to be, but we can't. And so it really takes all of us to continue to say, how can I get involved by doing the Rocky Pledge or educating and informing this group that I'm talking to, or my friends that are coming over for dinner, or how can I engage with other visitors if I'm in the park in a professional, kind way to highlight some of the let's all do this together.
Yeah, because really, like you said, a lot of people, they literally don't know.
Right. The other thing we're seeing is a big challenge is the increase of dogs on trails, and it's a huge concern to us, and it's probably the number one complaint we get from other visitors is the number of dogs that are on trails. And so again, we have signs everywhere. So usually it's people that don't care. With dogs, rarely is it, oh, I didn't know.
Right.
Because you're literally walking right past a sign.
Like every trailhead.
And then we have visitors that say, I told these people no dogs on the trail, and they're like, yeah, I know. Right. But I take my dog everywhere I go.
Right.
So it's something that is something that we're going to continue to tackle, and we just ask that visitors just leave their dogs at home. There's lots of other places you can take your dog. You can take your dog on trails in forest areas and in our surrounding communities. Dogs are predators. Wildlife act differently when dogs are in an area.
And I think what something people have to remember, and I'm a dog owner, so I have to remind myself of this too, is like there's last year 4.5 million people.
Right.
There. So even if maybe you're in the middle of national forest by yourself, there's hardly anyone around and a few pets, and it's not a big deal. But you can imagine here, if even 10% of people brought a pet, how with the wildlife and other visitors, a lot of people are uncomfortable around dogs, and there's just so many people in one spot that, it poses lots of issues.
Yeah, dogs can be, again, predators. They impact wildlife behavior. They can also be prey. We've had situations here in the park where small dogs have been preyed on by coyotes, bobcats, raptors. And so we have mountain lions.
You probably won't hear about that if your dog is
right. So certainly that, and then also just honoring that other visitors should have an opportunity to recreate in a place where there's not dogs on the trails. We've had people bit by dogs on the trails, and so again, continuing to try to step back from being a beloved pet owner, which we all understand,
for sure,
and realizing that there are just some places that pets should not go. And Rocky Mountain National Park trail system is one of those, and the tundra and many other places. So the only place you can have dogs in Rocky Mountain National Park are places where you can have cars.
Yep. So like picnic areas, campgrounds, right on the roadside. If you're like by your car,
right?
And that's
exactly. Yep, that's pretty much it. And they
with
always
the
have to be
exception of
leashed.
service animals, but we use if you have a service animal, you will know it. So emotional support, therapy, all that does not count. It has to be performing a task, a specific task for someone with a disability, and we have that language on our website. So if you do have a service animal and you know that you fall into that category, that's a different story. But that is most people that's not what it is.
Right. And then a couple of other things is just we're continuing to see social trails increase significantly. So we just continue to ask people to stay on established trails.
So social trail, for folks who don't know, is basically when someone walks up a way and then someone sees their footsteps and follows, and then before you know it, you get a trail worn in. And I think people may not realize how much work goes into building a good trail and what's involved, but it is very specific in terms of dealing with erosion from footsteps, from rain, from wind, all of that. We try to build trails to minimize the amount of erosion. Social trails don't follow any of that, and so they can really end up being harmful.
Right.
Yes.
Significant resource impacts
so
from social trails.
Established.
We're seeing significant impacts on the tundra from social trails, other places. It is. So, and then just a couple of other things, because we could probably spend a lot of time on each one of these, but the whole concept of leave no trace is really critical, whether it's orange peels or apple cores or, anything. It impacts other people. If you walk along and you see that kind of stuff, then you have left a trace. People say, I know that somebody else has been here, and not removing things, not removing rocks or flowers or pine cones. If 4.5 million visitors all took something with them when they left, it does impact other people's experience.
Absolutely.
So we need to think through that. And then the last one that we need to do a podcast on, Miles, is the whole concept of human waste in our backcountry.
Yes.
It's a growing concern for us. The amount of human waste that's on our trails, next to our trails, the amount of toilet paper that's being left behind, the amount of poop that's being left behind right on our trails. The health and safety aspects of that is something that we're seeing explode as well. And it's not just here at Rocky that's becoming a major problem. It's places all over the place. And so that truly, I think we need to do another podcast on the whole concept of, how leaving no trace when it comes to going to the bathroom really makes a difference. And again, the challenges that we have with facilities further in our trail system and our backcountry, we just really need to continue to engage the public in packing it out with you, which is a hard thing for some people to wrap their brains around.
It's not glamorous, but, actually, I'm going to be a little over a week. We're going out with Tara, Vasella, and a wilderness crew, and I'm going to be asking them about that.
Great.
There's the folks who have to deal with all that business.
Right.
And I think
it's the stuff we don't want to talk about or think about. But
it's super important.
It's super important.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be hiking down this beautiful trail and then just see human poop all over the place.
Right.
And I think, just like you said, getting that message out there that part of what makes coming to a national park exciting is that there's different expectations and there's a different requirement for personal responsibility in terms of thinking about your own impact. And that's part of what's neat about it, is it makes it very clear to you, much more so.
Right.
But there are steps that you need to take. So we'll see how that gets covered in the next one, and then maybe we could do. I think it'd be neat to do a podcast with some janitorial staff, just to let people know how many of those folks work here at the park and how important, like absolutely essential, their job is.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, great. Okay, so one final question.
Okay.
I've been asking everybody. It's a hard question to answer, but that's okay. You've been here 16 years. What does Rocky Mountain National Park mean to you?
Rocky Mountain National Park epitomizes to me what the mountains are all about. I mean, if you were anywhere in this world and you closed your eyes and said, what what are mountains all about?
Mm.
What is that habitat all about? And people love the mountains. It's what calls a lot of people, or people are scared when they think about mountains. But you think about all of the things that we have, wildflowers, the diversity of wildlife we have, the mountain streams and rivers that truly are the headwaters to life, all the way down that path. And so to me, Rocky Mountain National Park is all of those things. And that's another reason why people should get out and experience it responsibly. They should also preserve and protect it, because it's such a unique, diverse landscape. And oftentimes people think, oh, is the tundra barren because it's up high and because there's not a lot of tall things growing? It's like, it's the opposite.
Yeah, it's so
it
full
is
of life.
absolutely full of life. And no matter where you are in this park, there's this unbelievable diversity, whether you're at a montane riparian area or whether you go up to the alpine where you're above the trees. And so to me, I think of Rocky as being this really diverse place that sometimes doesn't get very much credit for being this diverse place, because people think of, oh, it's the mountaintops. Well, it's all of the life that's throughout all of those different systems at so many different levels.
Range of altitude really does mean that we have lots of distinct ecosystems, and it's neat once you learn about it or you're here and you pay attention, you start to see that and appreciate that.
And the other aspect of Rocky, that what Rocky means to me is a lot of the people that I get this unbelievable opportunity to work with, and the diversity, not only what the resource provides, but the diversity of what our colleagues do. It blows my mind every day. Like I said, the thing that I regret the most is not being able to tell everybody's story, because the things that our folks do is part of what just moves me about this place. Not only the resource, but our colleagues too.
Great. Came up with an answer so quickly. It's impressive. Thank you so much for speaking with us, Kyle.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You know, I bet we'll check back in with you about different things as this progresses and grows to the greatest podcast on earth.
Very good. Thank you for your efforts in making this happen.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. And that's our show. Thank you so much for listening this week. Our next episode will be released, as always, in 2 weeks. That will be Friday, August 11th. For show notes, transcriptions, and to learn more about our show, visit our homepage at go.nps.gov/rmnpod. That is go.nps.gov/rmnpod. The Rocky Mountain National Podcast is a product of Rocky Mountain National Park, one of 417 units of the National Park Service that preserve America's heritage for all, forever. Thank you. We hope your next 2 weeks are awesome, and we will see you next time.
Goats. They're the very symbol of Glacier National Park, and there is almost no better place in the park to see them than at Oberlin Bend. This section of the Going to the Sun Road travels along the cliffs and past the waterfalls just west of Logan Pass. The rock ledges and abundant vegetation provides ideal habitat for the shaggy white mountain goat. Watch for the little ones skipping about the rock cliffs in areas that would terrify most humans. Within days of being born, they are following mom up incredibly steep slopes. Sometimes the goats wander right down to the road or through the parking lot, however, so please remember that all park wildlife is wild. Although they may seem tolerant, they can also cause injury. Do not feed or approach them. Please help us keep wild goats wild and visible for years to come. Oberlin Bend also provides one of the best views of the Going to the Sun Road. Park your car and take the short boardwalk to the viewing platform. The sweeping vista of the garden wall with the Going to the Sun Road snaking along its cliffs is impressive. On a clear day, you can see all the way to the high peaks near the border with Canada, and, if you know where to look, you can spot Granite Park Chalet on a ridge high above the loop. Portions of this boardwalk were designed to be accessible by wheelchair, and if you notice, it's made out of a metal grate material. A former park superintendent saw similar walkways in parks in Australia and brought the idea back to Glacier on his return. The grate allows snow to fall through the walkway and helps relieve the pressure of the winter snows, and it also helps sunlight to penetrate below and maintain native vegetation under the boardwalk.
Headwaters is supported by the Glacier National Park Conservancy.
My parents met working at a camera store, so we always had a lot of camera gear around the house. But when I was 13, my parents gave me my very first DSLR with a big chunky frame and a zoom lens. I had a tiny point-and-shoot camera before that, but I was convinced something that could fit in my pocket would not be enough camera for our family vacation to Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado. The Rockies were unlike anything I'd ever seen growing up in the Midwest. And armed with my new camera, I took pictures of everything. The view from every scenic pullout, every wildflower, photogenic cloud, or notably large pine cone. But one picture from that trip that stands out in my memory is a photo I took of a moose. The first moose I'd ever seen, neck deep in a lake, holding its massive antlers above the water as it swam from one side to the other. It was gone within a few minutes, and my photo, looking back on it, wasn't all that impressive. But I think about that moose often as one of the first experiences I had with a wild animal, at least one bigger than a squirrel. It kickstarted a fascination I still have with the natural world and an appreciation of the power that photography has to capture moments like this. Wild animals in the wild. It's no wonder that cameras are one of the most common accessories you see around Glacier today. They are the lens, pun intended, through which many of us see and remember national parks. But cameras are also increasingly being used by scientists to study the same animals us visitors feel lucky to see. Especially remote cameras, which trigger when they sense movement. These camera traps, as they're called, can reveal glimpses into a side of Glacier that we can never see. How wildlife behave when there are no people around. We are in the car.
Where are we going?
We're driving up the road out of East Glacier that heads towards Two Medicine, looking for a camera.
And what's the camera looking for?
The camera is looking for moose. Largest member of the deer family, very charismatic, big noses.
I feel like charismatic is debatable.
I love moose.
I think a lot of people love moose, and a lot of people think moose are one of the uglier creatures.
What? How could you think moose are ugly?
I'm not saying I think that, but I've heard people say that.
Gangly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Weird
ugly?
Little dewlap thing, dangling.
It's charming.
Some say charming.
You're listening to Headwaters, a show about how Glacier National Park is connected to everything else. I'm Michael. In this episode, we're zooming in on two different animals, one big and one small, one you may have seen and one you may have never heard of. They'll help us understand the increasing use of cameras in the field of wildlife biology and reveal that even if you leave no trace, you have a bigger impact on the natural world than you might think. We're turning just before the Two Med entrance, going off the pavement. Oh. Perry and I went out for a day to check on a wildlife camera with Landon McGee.
So my name's Landon McGee. I'm a master's student at the University of Montana in their wildlife biology program. I'm an enrolled member of the Blackfeet tribe.
We were joined by one of Landon's technicians, Ethan Rowe. The two of them are working for Blackfeet Nation Fish and Wildlife, leading a moose study on the Blackfeet Reservation and the eastern portion of Glacier National Park.
You know, they love kind of wet areas. People call them swamp donkeys just because they kind of similar body structure, and they like to hang out in the swamps and wade through the ponds and eat kind of some aquatic vegetation. You can find them along stream bottoms, creek bottoms, river bottoms.
And Landon, who has been placing cameras all over the place this year, was nice enough to take me and Perry to the easiest to reach camera in his whole study. Start walking.
Yeah, so we're just going to head about 50 yards into this big aspen stand here. So